Chapter 403. Muyu planned to think a way to move these high-tier demon spirits away. Robbery? I love robbing. Little Shuai was dancing with joy. Most importantly, he was thinking about food. So many demon spirits made him so happy that his eyes were watering. Don't be so happy. I haven't even thought of a way to fish them out of the water. Muyu felt helpless. These demon spirits were a part of the Desert Eagle Demon King's main force in the future. If they were taken away so easily, it wouldn't make sense. Up until now, he had only studied in the array faction for a little more than a month. He didn't have a deep understanding of array formations. If he hadn't been forced by Deadwood Daddy to learn a little back in the valley and had a better foundation than others, he would have been completely clueless. Sealed array formations were actually very common. Many sects' mountain protection arrays were sealed array formations. For example, the Pill Cauldron sect back then. If one wanted to enter the Pill Cauldron sect, they could only enter from the small pavilion. Moreover, they needed special hand seals. Needless to say, the sealed array formation in the demon sealing pool also needed special array patterns to unlock it. Muyu gently placed his hand on the surface of the water. A ripple appeared on the surface of the water as array patterns began to faintly appear. He didn't rely on brute force like Little Shuai to break into the array formation. Instead, black and white array patterns appeared in his hand and carefully covered the array formation. Following the array patterns, his black and white array patterns gradually gathered at the entrance of the array formation. The shape of a pagoda appeared there. Wait, isn't this the blood crystal that the yellow-clothed man was holding? Muyu was astonished. The yellow-clothed man had used the blood-red blood crystal pagoda to open the gates of the Desert Eagle Royal City. At this moment, the array patterns at the entrance of the array formation were also in the shape of the blood crystal. This meant that the blood crystal was the key to opening the array formation. Do you think the yellow-clothed man is here for this demon army? Long Tongue asked curiously. What? That damned little yellow wants to snatch something from us? Preposterous. Little Shuai's tail was wagging. That's possible. However, if this place has something to do with Demon King Desert Eagle, he should be looking for Demon King Desert Eagle. I don't think he came here for that. Muyu speculated. Muyu wasn't too sure why Tian Bue was here, and the mysterious yellow-robed man had taken advantage of the chaos to sneak in. He was more purposeful than Heavenboo Waiting and the others. Perhaps he had been lying in wait for a long time, waiting for an opportunity. So someone came faster than me. A thick and solemn voice sounded from the other side of the cave. It was the hooded, yellow-clothed man who had touched a sore spot. Holy shit, he's really here for these demon spirits. Muyu stood up and stared at the yellow-clothed man with vigilance. Xiao Shuai was originally attracted by the spiritual qi here. Who would have thought that the yellow-robed man would also appear here? Muyu couldn't see what the yellow-clothed man looked like, but there was a faint trace of a powerful aura that made his heart palpitate. The yellow-clothed man indifferently glanced at Muyu. Muyu's face was already disguised, so his original appearance couldn't be seen. Xiao Shuai and Long Tongue had already quietly returned to Muyu's body, so as to avoid exposing their identities. The yellow-clothed man snorted and ignored Muyu. He walked straight to one of the demon sealing pools. The blood crystal in his hand emitted a crimson light as it dipped into the pool's surface. Then, the array of the demon sealing pools was broken by him. He stretched out his hand and swept away the dozens of demon spirits in the pool. Stop! You're not allowed to take these. Muyu shouted. Xiao Shuai was flustered and exasperated. If Muyu hadn't warned him not to come out, he would have already rushed over to snatch the demon spirits from the yellow-clothed man. The yellow-clothed man didn't care about Muyu at all. He even turned a deaf ear to Muyu's words. He had already walked to the second demon sealing pool, broken the array of the second pool, and collected over 100 demon spirits. Xiao Shuai was about to explode in anger. Those were his food. Muyu was also very angry. With a wave of his hand, he sent a streak of spiritual energy towards the yellow-clothed man. The yellow-clothed man only snorted and raised his hand to destroy Muyu's attack. He then continued to walk towards the third demon sealing pool. Muyu's figure flashed and appeared in front of the yellow-clothed man. He asked in a deep voice, "You're from the demon race?" The yellow-clothed man didn't even look carefully when he arrived at the demon sealing pool. He directly used the blood crystal to collect the demon spirits. Only someone from the demon race could be so familiar with this place. "Scram," the yellow-clothed man simply said. Suddenly, a tyrannical aura surged out from his body. This aura was extremely terrifying. It was like a stormy sea that pressed down on Muyu. Muyu immediately took out the shadow clone sword to block in front of him. The violent sword aura wasn't to be outdone as it slashed towards the yellow-clothed man. Eh! The yellow-clothed man suddenly raised his head and looked at the sword aura. Then, it landed on Muyu's shadow clone sword. With a light wave of his hand, he dissolved the sword aura from Muyu. It's actually... The yellow-clothed man looked at the sword in Muyu's hand in astonishment. "This is the Sky Sword. You're the disciple of Jian-Ing Chunfeng, Muyu, right?" Muyu was slightly shocked. Although everyone in the cultivation world had heard of Jian-Ing Chunfeng's 9 sky swords, other than Tian Ran, no one knew that Jian-Ing Chunfeng had already given the 9 sky swords to his disciple. They also didn't know what the sky swords looked like. This yellow-clothed man had actually exposed Muyu's identity just by looking at the shadow clone sword in Muyu's hand. "Who are you?" Muyu asked warily. The yellow-clothed man's voice sounded a little familiar. Even when he attacked, Muyu felt a sense of familiarity. However, he couldn't remember when he had seen this guy before. The yellow-clothed man sized up Muyu and said, "Who I am isn't important. I didn't expect to meet you here. How rare. Leave this place and don't interfere with my work." Muyu pointed his sword at him. "You want to help Demon King Desert Eagle make a comeback. I won't let you help the evildoer." "Help Demon King Desert Eagle?" The yellow-clothed man snorted and shook his head. "I'm not a demon. Then why did you take these demon spirits?" Muyu asked in surprise. If the other party wasn't a demon, how could he have come here directly? One had to know that this place was like a complicated maze. Muyu had only come here because of the glutton little Shuai. He never thought that he would accidentally bump into the yellow-clothed man. The yellow-clothed man was silent for a long time. He didn't explain anything. Then he suddenly waved his hand, and an earth-yellow spiritual energy shot towards Muyu. Muyu was slightly shocked. He wanted to resist, but the other party's strength was far above his. In an instant, Muyu was firmly confined to the corner of the wall. The yellow-clothed man had no intention of harming Muyu. He only lowered his head and continued to collect the demon spirits in the demon sealing pool. In a short moment, 2/3 of the demon spirits had already been collected by him. "Bastard, let go of me!" Muyu struggled with all his might, trying to break free from the spiritual energy and stop the yellow-clothed man's actions. However, this spiritual energy was too strong. He didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Little Shuai couldn't bear it any longer and rushed out. Seeing the countless demon spirits being snatched away, his heart was broken. "That's mine. Don't take it. I'll fight it out with you." Little Shuai bared his teeth and pounced towards the yellow-clothed man. Dragonvine also rushed out at the right time, wanting to save Muyu. However, the yellow-clothed man waved his hand again and similarly imprisoned Little Shuai and Dragonvine. "Little Shuai, give me back my demon spirits!" Little Shuai angrily yelled. Strictly speaking, these demon spirits had nothing to do with Little Shuai. He simply wanted to eat the demon spirits. However, the yellow-clothed man ignored Little Shuai and continued to collect the demon spirits in the demon sealing pool. Soon, only the demon sealing pool and demon spirits were left in the entire cave. "It's the last one. Everyone who saw it has a share. How can you be so unreasonable?" Little Shuai's lungs were about to explode from anger. The yellow-clothed man raised his head and glanced at Little Shuai. Then, he used the blood crystal to break the last demon sealing pool. This time, he didn't collect the remaining demon spirits. Instead, he straightened his body and walked towards the entrance that Muyu came from. "I won't kill you. You guys take care of yourselves." The yellow-clothed man's figure had already disappeared into the tunnel. After half an hour, the spiritual energy that imprisoned Muyu gradually disappeared. Muyu let out a breath and landed on the ground. He walked towards the last demon sealing pool. There were about 50 rank 6 demon spirits and 20 rank 7 demon spirits inside. However, the yellow-clothed man could have taken them all, but he chose to leave a portion behind. What's going on? At least he still has a conscience. He was influenced by me and left some. Little Shuai also struggled to break free from the imprisonment. He jumped into the pool and picked up a demon spirit and bit it. However, just as he bit down on a demon spirit, a two-headed demon fox suddenly rushed out from the demon spirit and screamed in the air. What? Not eating you? But the little yellow man left these for me to eat. Little Shuai's face wasn't thin at all. He could understand the two-headed demon fox's words. Muyu pulled Little Shuai up and said, "That's enough. There are high-ranked demon spirits sealed inside these demon spirits. It seems like there's a way to revive them. Let's not eat them for now. They might be useful in the future. If we can command these high-ranked demon beasts, they'll be a very powerful force." Little Shuai muttered a few words and stuffed the demon spirit into Muyu's hands. The two-headed demon fox's soul screamed and rushed back into the demon spirit. Originally, there were about 2,000 demon spirits in the demon sealing pool. Who would have thought that the yellow-clothed man would take all of them, leaving behind a pitiful 80 or so demon spirits? This was also because the yellow-clothed man was being polite. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to get a single one. Muyu was originally planning to rob the demon spirits here. Who would have thought that a yellow-clothed man would appear out of nowhere? Before they could do anything, the yellow-clothed man had already taken them. Stargate's people are here. Let's go. The dragon vine suddenly waved its tail and drilled into Muyu's body. There were 2 passages in this cave. Earlier, the yellow-clothed man came from the passage that he came from. Muyu listened carefully. Sure enough, he heard some footsteps. Moreover, there were quite a few of them. He quickly put away all the demon spirits, then grabbed Little Shuai and stuffed it into his pocket. He then ran towards the passage that he came from. That was also the place where the yellow-clothed man disappeared. However, just as he ran to the passage, the Stargate's people had already rushed in. Why is there another person? You're courting death. Tian Jinqing's terrifying aura instantly enveloped Muyu. Chapter 404. Muyu felt as if he was a dog. It was clearly the yellow-robed man who had taken all the demon spirits, and he had only picked up a spoonful of soup to drink. How did he become the sucker? Tian Jinqing's strength was too terrifying. Fortunately, Muyu had seen more than 1 or 2 body integration stage cultivators. Therefore, the other party's pressure didn't scare him. He directly rushed in the direction he had just come from. That was also the place where the yellow-robed man had disappeared. Tian Jinqing arrived behind Muyu in the blink of an eye and almost caught him. However, a dense number of devil vines immediately sprang out from the passage, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws towards Tian Jinqing. At this critical moment, Muyu had no choice but to use his ability to control wood to escape. Otherwise, if he fell into Tian Jinqing's hands, he would suffer. There are devil vines here. Tian Jinqing had originally locked onto Muyu's aura. He didn't expect that when Muyu ran into the passage, he would suddenly disappear, leaving behind countless devil vines that swept towards him. Devil vines were a very common type of moving plant in the cultivation world. They like to grow in dark and damp places. They specialized in hunting passing prey in the dark. Many ignorant cultivators who stepped into the cave would be entangled and killed by them. The passage was very dark, so when these devil vines appeared, Tian Jinqing didn't associate them with Muyu. Instead, he thought that these devil vines were plants that grew here. Boundless spiritual energy attacked, immediately shaking the devil vines in front of him into pieces. When Tian Jinqing stepped over the devil vines, Muyu had already disappeared into the passage. He released his divine sense, trying to find a trace of Muyu's aura. However, Muyu seemed to have evaporated from the world, leaving no trace behind. Tian Jinqing's face was livid. He could clearly feel that Muyu's cultivation just now was only at the out-of-body stage. However, he was able to escape from him, a cultivator at the form synthesis stage. This was a disgrace to him. He returned to the cave. At this moment, Tion Butchie and the others were inspecting the demon sealing pools. Tion Butchie was looking at the demon text on the stalactite. He seemed to understand the demon text here. Clearly, he had specially learned the demon race's language for this trip to find Demon King Desert Eagle. Then he squatted down and stirred the water. Frowning slightly, he said, "This is the secret demonic beast army of the Sand Eagle Royal City, the demonic sealing pool. Looks like we're a step too late." Tian Jiansheng said indignantly, "It's very likely that the person just now stole it. Unfortunately, he was very lucky and escaped with the help of the Devil's Vine." Zhou Jinglin squatted down to inspect the demon sealing pool's array formation. He was also controlling the runic patterns in his hands. The runic patterns gradually formed the shape of a pagoda on top of the protective array formation. He looked at the pagoda carefully and said in surprise, "This is the blood crystal in the hands of the mysterious yellow-robed man. Could it be that the yellow-robed man also came here? Our goal here isn't just the demon sealing pool. The most important thing is that thing. We can't let those two people beat us to it. Let's go." Tion Butchie stood up and walked toward the passage. In the darkness, only the stairs were winding around. Occasionally, there would be a fork in the road. Muyu didn't know where it led. He didn't dare to slow down at all. Just now, if the Devil's Vine hadn't covered the entire passage, allowing him to find a crack with great difficulty and crawl in, he might have been caught by Tian Jiansheng by now. Muyu didn't crawl in the crack for long before he crawled out and landed in another passage. He continued to run forward without stopping. In order to hurry, he could only come out of Mu Ling's sword and rush through the passage. After running for about 2 hours, Muyu finally stopped. The stairs were still going up, but he didn't know where the exit was. This place was really like an underground maze. He couldn't find north at all. The worst thing was that he had encountered countless forks in the past 2 hours. This time, he had to rely on his intuition to choose the path. Unfortunately, the more he chose, the worse it got. "I'm so tired. Let's rest for a while." Little Shuai stood on Muyu's shoulder and patted his chest with his little paw. "Tired your sister. I'm clearly the one running." Muyu stretched out his hand and flicked little Shuai's head. He looked at the 4 forks in front of him and completely lost his temper. "Little Een Corpse points to whoever it is." Little Shuai began to blindly point the way again. "Can't you smell where there's something rich in spirit energy? That way, I can determine the direction." Muyu didn't dare to believe in little Shuai's Little Een Corpse anymore. Now, he didn't know where the people from Stargate were looking for the Desert Eagle Demon King. If they met again, he might not be so lucky to escape. "I don't know. Just now, I realize that there's a strong stench in the passage that's interfering with my sense of smell." Little Shuai's nose twitched as he said dejectedly, "Stench? What stench?" This was the first time Muyu heard that Little Shuai's nose could be interfered with. In the past, it could find things rich in spirit energy as accurately as a fly finding a toilet. "I don't know either. This stench can isolate spirit energy. If you don't believe me, you could try to extract spirit energy from the surroundings. See if you can use the spirit energy here to cultivate." Little Shuai shook his big tail. This time, his big tail could no longer gather spirit energy. Muyu looked at Little Shuai in confusion. Then, he tried to extract spirit energy from the surroundings to cultivate. Sure enough, it was as Little Shuai said. The spirit energy in the surroundings seemed to be contaminated by something and became extremely impure. It couldn't be used for cultivation. This was difficult. Just now, he was hoping that Little Shuai could find the location of the yellow-clothed man. After all, the yellow-clothed man had so many high-tier demon spirits on him. Unfortunately, once the demon spirits were stored in the Chinquan pouch, the spirit energy would be isolated. Even Little Shuai couldn't find it. He thought a possibility, a place that could isolate spirit energy, was the most suitable place to seal the Desert Eagle Demon King. Just like the place where the White Ape Demon King was sealed was a spirit energy that was specially used to extract spirit energy. If this place could isolate spirit energy, then the effect would be similar to the spirit energy eye of the White Ape Demon King. "Can you find the source of this stench?" Muyu asked. The little mouse can. It grew up eating feces. Dragon Vine interrupted. Big earthworm don't talk. Little Shuai unwillingly pointed at the middle of the passage. Do we have to go there? My nose won't work if we go there. Muyu used his actions to tell Little Shuai. He flew in the direction that Little Shuai pointed at. The further they went down the road, the more Muyu felt a sense of oppression. Although running in the dark underground passage for half a day was quite oppressive, the passage at this moment was clearly better. The feeling here was as if his head was tightly covered by clothes. It was very uncomfortable. He only walked for half an hour, and suddenly there was a flash of light in front of him. It seemed that he had finally reached the exit. However, Muyu didn't let down his guard. His nerves were stretched tight, worried that something would jump out from somewhere. Muyu finally reached the exit of the passage. However, when he saw the situation in front of him, he was dumbfounded. He rubbed his eyes to make sure that he didn't see wrongly. Only then did he exclaim, "Why is it here?" This was a huge underground karst cave, which was several hundred meters high. The surrounding walls were uneven, with stone platforms extending out. There were all kinds of demon beasts and demon clansmen standing there, looking very lifelike. Counting carefully, there were thousands of statues on the walls. Facing the entrance of the passage was a flight of stairs made of real gold. Each flight of stairs was 2 meters wide. There were demons of different forms standing on both sides of the stairs. There were more than 100 flights of stairs, and there were more than 200 demons standing on the stairs. This was the demon race's underground palace that Muyu and Xiao Shui had explored in the second heaven. Muyu came back to his senses. For a moment, he thought that he had returned to the second heaven. These demons were all statues. They didn't really exist. When Muyu first came in, all the statues were staring at him. Although he knew that the statues were fake, Muyu still felt a little guilty. That's strange. Could the Desert Eagle King City be related to the demon race's underground palace in the second heaven? Muyu muttered. Back then, the White Ape Demon King's inner core was hidden in the second heaven's underground palace. Could it be that the Desert Eagle Demon King's inner core was also hidden here? He raised his head and looked at the top of the stairs. There was a majestic and domineering throne at the top. The throne in the second heaven's underground palace was originally empty. However, a handsome man was sitting on the throne here. This man gave off the feeling of a carefree wanderer. His entire body exuded an indescribable pride. He was clearly sitting there, but it seemed like he was going to soar into the clouds in the next moment. He wanted to compete with the sky, making people look up to him. The king in the sky. Needless to say, this was the statue of the Desert Eagle Demon King. Little Commander, how did you find the Demon King's inner core in the second heaven? Try and see if you can find it here. Muyu flew up and landed beside the throne. Back then, he remembered that the White Ape Demon King's inner core was found somewhere above the throne. An ingenious array had been set up there to hide the Demon King's inner core. However, Little Commander shook his head and said, "There shouldn't be any jelly beans here. The smell of jelly beans is different from demon spirits. However, even if there were, I wouldn't be able to find it. It's too smelly here. It's going to stink my nose." Muyu touched the noble throne made of red jade and sized up the handsome man in front of him. It had to be said that demon kings looked different from other demon race members. They looked no different from ordinary self-cultivators, but were much more domineering than ordinary self-cultivators. Thinking about the White Ape Demon King, although this guy was very shameless, he was indeed powerful and domineering. He gave people the impression that he was imposing without being angry. The Desert Eagle Demon King in front of him didn't lose out to the White Ape Demon King in terms of temperament. Isn't this the blood crystal? Muyu's gaze fell on a pendant on the Desert Eagle Demon King's chest. It was a blood-red blood crystal pagoda. It was exactly the same as the blood crystal in the yellow-robed man's hand. However, it was smaller and appeared more exquisite. The blood crystal was an extremely rare item. If Muyu had obtained the blood crystal earlier, he would have already plundered all the demon spirits in the demon sealing pool. He wouldn't even need to wait for the yellow-clothed man to intervene. Muyu thought about the benefits of the blood crystal and reached out to take it off the Desert Eagle Demon King's neck. However, at that moment, the Desert Eagle Demon King, who was originally just a statue, suddenly reached out and grabbed Muyu's wrist. At the same time, the Desert Eagle Demon King turned his head to look at Muyu. A red light flashed in his eyes as he said coldly, "You dare to behave atrociously in my territory. F***ck your mother, he's a zombie." Little Commander, who was on Muyu's shoulder, was so frightened that all the hair on his body stood on end. Chapter 405. The red light in Desert Eagle's eyes was like a sharp awl that pierced into Muyu's eyes, causing his mind to tremble. He attacked without hesitation with the shadow clone sword in his hand, slashing at Desert Eagle. Desert Eagle raised his hand to block, and a powerful spiritual energy spread out. Muyu broke free from Desert Eagle's restraints, and with a few flashes, he pulled away from Desert Eagle. "Lowly human, how dare you challenge my dignity here?" Desert Eagle stood up from his throne, and a king's aura that looked down on the world spread out, enveloping all the statues. Then, the statues all creaked and moved. "Why are you so weak? No, you're not the real Desert Eagle." Muyu shook his wrist. If it was really Desert Eagle, with Muyu's current cultivation, he wouldn't have been able to break free. Not to mention, Muyu had taken the opportunity to snatch the blood crystal. Desert Eagle stared at the blood crystal in Muyu's hand with a cold expression. "How dare you snatch what's mine? I'll kill you without mercy." He pointed his finger at the sky, and a red light soared into the sky, entering the top of the cave. Then, the entire cave was illuminated by the red light. The blood-red light looked very demonic, and all the statues came to life. "I know where the stench comes from." Back in the second layer of the Palace of Heaven and Earth, there was a gray aura that made the statues come to life. It was similar to this stench. Little Shuai poked his head out of Muyu's clothes and muttered softly, "It's fine. Even if we encounter a Demon King's inner core now, we can still fight," Muyu said. Back in the second layer of the Palace of Heaven, he was only at the nascent soul stage, and it was very difficult for him to deal with the remnant consciousness of the White Ape Demon King's inner core. But now that Muyu was at the out-of-body stage, he was no longer afraid of anything. However, what made Muyu feel strange was that these statues didn't have any intention of attacking Muyu. They just stood there and shouted wildly, as if they were chanting something. Their syllables were very neat and orderly, echoing in the huge cave, causing strange waves of air to ripple in the air. The air waves intertwined in the air and absorbed all the blood-red light. Then, these air waves gradually formed a ring with complex and mysterious patterns in the middle. Then, an ancient coffin slowly floated out from the middle of the airwaves. There were intricate carvings on the coffin, and there were a few ferocious desert eagles spreading their wings. They were exactly the same as the desert eagles seen at the city gate. Waves of demonic red light wrapped around the coffin, and there seemed to be some kind of low sound coming from the coffin. It sounded like light breathing, and it was very frightening. "What the hell is this? Is Demon Monarch Desert Hawk sealed in this coffin?" Muyu frowned. However, this was impossible because the Demon King was sealed by the human race. It was impossible for the human race to seal the Demon King in the underground palace of the demon race. Otherwise, wouldn't the demon race easily find the Demon King? Then what was inside the coffin? Muyu looked around and realized that there were countless passages in the towering cave, but he didn't know where they led. These passages were trembling slightly, as if something was about to rush out. Even the passage that Muyu came in was the same. Sharp screeches suddenly came from the various passages, and there was also the sound of flapping wings. Then countless shadows rushed out. Upon closer inspection, these were actually the souls of the desert eagle demonic beasts. About a few hundred desert eagle demonic beasts' souls gradually gathered in the air, forming a huge desert eagle. This desert eagle was mighty and domineering. Although it was only a soul, it had a soul-stirring power. It looked up to the sky and screeched. The cry of the eagle turned into a red bolt of lightning, striking the rock wall at the top of the cave. The rock wall rumbled and then split to the left and right, revealing the blood-red sky. A gigantic desert eagle flitted across the sky from time to time before it turned into a shadow and shot into the city. It was the relief sculpture of the desert eagle that had spread its wings and soared high above the city gates. The relief sculpture of the desert eagle and the desert eagle demonic beast's souls fused together perfectly. The entire desert eagle had an additional spiritual aura, and the color of its body began to change. A terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth burst out from its body. It was actually comparable to a body fusion stage cultivator. Damn, even a random bird has the cultivation of a body fusion stage cultivator. How am I supposed to play with this? Muyu looked at the huge desert eagle soaring in the sky with fear in his heart. Elegant golden feathers grew out of the top of the desert eagle's head, and its entire body was covered in a brown glow. It was completely different from the lifeless relief sculpture on the city gate. Its wings were over 10 meters wide, and its feathers were as hard as iron. They flickered with a red glow, and a pair of pitch-black sharp claws emitted a cold, murderous aura. It was as if they were invincible divine weapons, forcing people to avoid them. The phantom Falcon companion, demonic servant. It's really here. A surprised voice suddenly came from a passage 20 meters above Muyu. On the platform in front of the passage stood a group of people from Stargate. Leading them was Tion Bushi. Tion Bushi and the others also noticed Muyu. However, when they saw that Muyu's cultivation was only at the out-of-body stage, they snorted contemptuously and focused all their attention on the desert eagle flying around the coffin in the sky. Clearly, the desert eagle in the sky was more important to them. The phantom Falcon companion, demonic servant? Tion Bushi, did they come for this desert eagle? Muyu carefully retreated to the entrance of the passage. Everyone from Stargate had a higher cultivation than him. They could kill him in minutes, so he had to be careful. Phantom Falcon companion, demonic servant. Muyu felt like he had heard of it somewhere before. He suddenly remembered that when he was at Mount Luochun, his master Feng Haochen would always tell them many interesting things about the cultivation world. He remembered that his master had once said that the fastest flying bird in the world was the desert eagle. The king of the desert eagles was called the Falcon. It was as fast as the wind and as fast as lightning. Until now, there was nothing that could surpass its speed. Could the desert eagle demonic servant king be the Falcon? So the carving on the gate just now was the body of the ghost falcon. I really misjudged it. Everyone, be careful. Its speed is second only to the desert eagle demonic servant king. We have to catch it. Only by catching it can we find the seal of the desert eagle demonic servant king. Tion Bushi ordered his subordinates. Yes, young master. Tion Jiansheng and the others said respectfully. However, a discordant voice suddenly came from the stone platform in another passage. You want to touch our demonic servant king's ghost falcon? 6 demonic servants stood on the stone platform in front of the passage, coldly looking at the people from Stargate. The leader was the demonic prince that they met in 8 Grass Village. It was said that he was the descendant of the green dragon demonic servant king, Long Xingyun. Long Xingyun had already broken through to the spirit severing stage. Behind him were 2 white-haired elders with unfathomable strength. They stood there calmly, like 2 silent mountains, pressing down on everyone's heart. The rest of the demonic servants were all in the spirit severing stage, and their auras were not ordinary. I knew it would be unreasonable if you demonic servants didn't show up in this situation. Muyu's gaze swept across the other passageways. He felt that there should be one person missing. The mysterious yellow-robed man who came out of nowhere and swept away all the demon spirits must be somewhere else. The demonic servants and the people from Stargate looked at each other in the air, creating hostile sparks. The 2 elders of the demonic servants were also in the form synthesis stage. Their auras were not below that of Tion Jiansheng and Tion Jiansheng. Thousands of years ago, the 10 great demonic servant kings of the demonic servants ruled their own territories. Just like the 8 gates, they were united but did not interfere with each other. Each demonic servant king had his own king city. If the demonic servants of the other demonic servants wanted to enter another king's city, they had to get permission first. These demonic servants are basically the subordinates of demonic servant King Green Dragon. Therefore, they could not enter demonic servant King Desert Eagle's king city through the Corpse formation, unless they had the token that belonged to demonic servant King Desert Eagle, like the yellow-robed man had. I thought you demonic servants didn't dare to come out. Tion Buwait frowned slightly when he saw the demonic servants. However, his expression did not change. He was still as gentle as ever. The other people from Stargate did not look good. They had lost half of their men in the Corpse formation. This was the territory of the demonic servants. If they really fought with the demonic servants now, the situation would not be optimistic. However, there were 6 people from Stargate, including Zhou Jinglin. They could still fight. Long Xingyun was still arrogant. He sneered, Tion Buwait, how dare you touch the things of the demonic servants? You are asking for death. Long Xingyun and the others had arrived at Desert Forest a long time ago. They were looking for Desert Eagle's companion demon servant, Ghost Falcon. However, because the Desert Eagle Demon King's token had been lost for thousands of years, they could not directly enter the Desert Eagle Royal City. When the people from Stargate found this place, they hid and waited for an opportunity to strike. In the end, even the people from Stargate were helpless. In the end, it was a mysterious man in yellow who took care of them. Huh, are you the demon race's Ghost Falcons? Why don't you try to control this Ghost Falcon and see if it will listen to your orders? Tion Buwait smiled. Long Xingyun put away his arrogance and pulled a long face. The Ghost Falcon was the servant of the Desert Eagle Demon King, Hai Dongqing. It was a very powerful demon with the fastest speed in the world, second only to Hai Dongqing. Because of this, it would only listen to the orders of the Desert Eagle Demon King. After the Desert Eagle Demon King was sealed thousands of years ago, its demon soul was extracted by the Desert Eagle Demon King's people using a special method so that it could live on and wait for the Desert Eagle Demon King to return. Obviously, if there were no special circumstances, the Ghost Falcon would not be allowed to resuscitation at this time. Whether the Ghost Falcon listens to us or not, it's not something you filthy humans can touch. Long Xingyun sneered. When the 2 groups of people were at each other's throats, they did not care about the out-of-body stage Muyu who was in the corner. Muyu did not have any intention of interfering. His current cultivation was nothing in front of these 2 groups of people, so there was no way he could compete with them for anything. Needless to say, Stargate and the demon race would have a fierce battle soon. To Muyu, it did not matter who won or lost. It had nothing to do with him anyway. He only wanted to see if he could take advantage of the situation and create some trouble for these people. The statue of the Desert Eagle Demon King, standing in front of the throne, suddenly roared into the sky. It leaped up high and landed on the back of the Ghost Falcon that was flying in the sky. The statue of the Desert Eagle Demon King did not care about anyone else, including the demon race led by Long Xingyun. He was the only one in the cave who was staring at Muyu, as if he wanted to skin Muyu alive. Filthy human, hand over the exquisite Desert Eagle, the statue of the Desert Eagle Demon King said angrily. His words echoed in the cave for a long time, attracting everyone's attention. What? The exquisite Desert Eagle is with this kid? Long Xingyun finally looked at Muyu, his eyes filled with endless murderous intent. Heaven Buwei and the others were also shocked. They did not know about this at all. Everyone in the cave had their eyes fixed on Muyu. They all released their pressure on Muyu without holding back. Everyone here had a higher cultivation than Muyu, not to mention many of them were in the form synthesis stage. There was even a bird in the form synthesis stage who was eyeing him covetously. Why are you all looking at me? I'm just here to be a bystander. Muyu felt a chill run down his spine. He realized he had become the target of public criticism again. Chapter 406. Everyone in the cave was looking at the out-of-body stage Muyu. Whether they were from the Yao clan or the Stargate, they all wanted the exquisite Desert Eagle for Muyu. However, Muyu had no idea what the exquisite Desert Eagle was. All he did was pull the exquisite Desert Eagle off its neck when he was fighting with the statue. It seemed like this item was very valuable. Otherwise, whether they were from the Yao clan or the Stargate. They would all want to kill Muyu when they heard about the exquisite desert eagle. Muyu didn't say a word. He immediately ran into the tunnel behind him. So many people wanted the exquisite desert eagle. It was obvious that this item was very valuable. Even though he didn't know what the exquisite desert eagle was for, Muyu didn't want to see it fall into the hands of either side. However, the ghost falcon screeched in the air. Then, stone doors suddenly fell from the top of all the tunnels, completely blocking them. Muyu used all his strength to hit the stone doors, but they didn't move at all. It was over. His escape route was cut off. Kid, hand over the exquisite desert eagle, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Long Xingyun stared at Muyu from above. His eyes were full of murderous intent. The body fusion stage masters behind him were already attacking Muyu. However, Tian Jiansheng snorted and blocked the attacks. Tian Bue smiled. Long Xingyun, where did you get the confidence to threaten us human self-cultivators? Fellow cultivator, don't worry. As long as I'm here, the Yao clan won't hurt a hair on your head. Tian Bue's voice was very gentle. Compared to Long Xingyun's threats, his words were much more pleasant. No matter who it was, when they saw such a kind face, they couldn't help but feel a sense of closeness. If Muyu didn't know that this person was sinister and hypocritical, and if he didn't try his best to kill Deadwood's father, he might really choose to believe that heaven doesn't wait. Really? It seems that Stargate is bent on fighting against us shifters. Long Xingyun said coldly. Tian Bue laughed. We humans have never had any friendship with you demons. The Threefold Palace will not allow a second white ape demon king to appear. Therefore, you demons should give up on this idea as soon as possible. Today, I will definitely protect the people of our human race. I won't give you any chance to kill. After saying that, Tian Bue turned to Muyu and asked, I believe this fellow Taoist has the same idea as me. We are all humans, so we naturally have a common enemy against the demon clan, don't we? Oh, right. May I know your name, fellow Taoist? If it were any other cultivator, they would have rushed to the Stargate in gratitude and asked for the protection of the Stargate when they saw that the young master of the Stargate was being so courteous. Unfortunately, this person was Muyu, a person who wanted nothing more than to destroy Stargate. My name, huh? I'm just a nobody. Muyu had already used so many fake names that he couldn't be bothered to come up with another one. He sneered in his heart. Needless to say, he knew that if he left with the people of Stargate with the Desert Eagle lingering spirit, the moment he reached a deserted place, the Stargate would probably kill him. Since fellow Taoist doesn't want to say your name, I will respect your choice. However, fellow Taoist can come to my side. The Stargate will protect you at all costs. Tian Bue said. Muyu hid his hatred well. Before he had absolute power, he wouldn't reveal his killing intent to Tian Bue. You wanted to ask for Tian Bue's help? Dream on. Since you all want the Desert Eagle lingering spirit so much, I wonder if anyone can explain what it is? Muyu had already put away the Desert Eagle lingering spirit. He wasn't stupid enough to take it out to show off. However, he really didn't know what the Desert Eagle lingering spirit was that both sides valued it so much. Fellow Taoist, you actually don't know what the Desert Eagle lingering spirit is? Tian Bue was surprised. Everyone here was here for the Desert Eagle lingering spirit and the Ghost Falcon lingering spirit, but the only person who got the Desert Eagle lingering spirit didn't know what it was? Come to the Desert Eagle Royal City without knowing anything. I think you should go ask the King of Hell. Kill this brat for me and get the Desert Eagle lingering spirit. Long Xingyun didn't want to waste his breath. Although he was arrogant and had lost to Shiman Wuji due to his carelessness, it was clear that the best choice was to attack directly. After all, Muyu was a human. If the Yao clan wanted the Desert Eagle lingering spirit, they could only do it by force. The two body integration stage elders behind him rushed toward Muyu. However, Tian Jiansheng and the other body integration stage cultivator, Tian Jingye, had already rushed toward the body integration stage elders of the Yao clan. The others, including Zhou Jinglin of the Talisman sect, also leaped into the air. The magic treasures in their hands shot out and shone brightly. Spiritual energy splashed in all directions and shook the entire cavern. This karst cave was a few hundred meters high. The battle between the demon clan and the Heavenly Star sect members flashed in the air from time to time. The violent spiritual power directly smashed some of the statues into pieces. Smoke and dust swirled in the air, and gravel kept rolling down. Surprisingly, even the body integration stage cultivators couldn't leave any deep marks on the walls of the cavern. The entire cavern was very sturdy. There were no signs of it collapsing. The Desert Eagle Demon King's underground palace was indeed extraordinary. Tian Bue and Long Xingyun didn't move. They just stood there and watched each other. At the same time, they locked onto the out-of-body stage Muyu. In their eyes, Muyu was just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Whichever side won, this lamb would belong to them. Muyu stuck close to the wall. He needed to find a crack in the wall. If things went south, he would merge with Mu Ling and rush out through the crack, just like he did in the underground palace in the second heaven. However, he was shocked to find that the walls here were much sturdier than the broken underground palace in the second heaven. He couldn't find a single crack in the wall. The ghost falcon in the air didn't join the battle. Under the command of the Desert Eagle Demon King statue, it flapped its huge wings and rushed toward Muyu. Resuscitation of the ghost falcon was not supposed to happen at this time. However, Muyu had taken the exquisite desert eagle from the gerfalcon statue. That strange statue wasn't as powerful as Muyu. Therefore, it had no choice but to summon the ghost falcon to deal with Muyu. The statue didn't show any intimacy with Long Xingyun and the others. Its job was only to protect the exquisite desert eagle. The other demons were no different from humans in its eyes. The ghost falcon came with great momentum. Its speed was unbelievably fast. In the blink of an eye, its sharp claws were already grabbing at Muyu. Muyu gritted his teeth. He knew that he had to rely on Mu Ling to escape this fatal attack. However, it wasn't a wise choice to show his ability to control what in front of so many people. Moreover, Mu Ling's sword didn't grow plants that were invincible. It would be difficult to escape with Mu Ling's sword. The ghost falcon was too fast. Even Tian Bue and Long Xingyun couldn't stop it. However, even if they could stop it, they probably wouldn't. As long as Muyu died, exquisite desert eagle wouldn't run around anymore. Just as Muyu was about to merge with Mu Ling, the stone door behind him suddenly exploded. A yellow shadow suddenly appeared in front of Muyu. It was the mysterious yellow-clothed man. The yellow-clothed man looked at the ghost falcon and only snorted lightly. He directly threw a punch over. The yellow spirit energy with the power to destroy heaven and earth hit the ghost falcon's sharp claws. The ghost falcon screamed and flew out, heavily falling on the other side of the rock wall. Holy shit, the minion is so strong. Little Shuai said in fear as he pulled Muyu's clothes. He was just cursing at the minion. He didn't expect the minion to send the ghost falcon flying with one punch. Muyu was also shocked. He didn't know the yellow-clothed man's true cultivation. Even in the demon ceiling pool, the yellow-clothed man easily took down Muyu without revealing his true cultivation. The ghost falcon was a body integration stage demon beast. Since it was sent flying by the yellow-clothed man with one punch, it meant that the yellow-clothed man's cultivation was at least at the body integration stage. Follow the passage and leave this place, the yellow-clothed man said coldly. Muyu took 2 steps toward the passage and stopped. He asked, "Who are you? Why are you helping me?" For some reason, Muyu felt that the yellow-clothed man was familiar. However, he also felt that he was a stranger. With the yellow-robed man's cultivation, it wouldn't be excessive for him to take away all the demon spirits in the demon ceiling pool. However, not only did he leave some for Muyu, he even helped Muyu at a critical moment. What was the yellow-robed man's purpose for doing this? Take the exquisite desert eagle and leave this place. Don't get involved in this matter. It won't do you any good. The yellow-clothed man didn't answer Muyu's question directly. Instead, he turned and walked toward the throne. Muyu stared at the yellow-clothed man's back. After a moment of hesitation, he walked toward the passage. He couldn't stay here for long. There were so many people eyeing him. Since the yellow-clothed man had created an opportunity for him to escape, there was no need for him to stay. When Long Xingyun and Tianbu Wai saw the yellow-clothed man, they both frowned. Just now, it was this mysterious person who had opened the gates of the Desert Eagle Kingdom with the Desert Eagle Demon King's token, the blood crystal. Now, this person had suddenly appeared here and even saved the person who had the blood crystal. Just who was this person? Hand over the exquisite Desert Eagle. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. Long Xingyun slashed his longsword at Muyu. His severed soul stage cultivation enveloped Muyu. Muyu dodged and dodged Long Xingyun's sword. Tianbu Wai had also silently approached Muyu. He flew toward Muyu. He wanted to take the exquisite Desert Eagle as well. However, the yellow-clothed man only snorted. A powerful aura spread out and pushed Long Xingyun and Tianbu Wai back. At the same time, he stood beside the throne made of red jade and looked up at the coffin in the air. Since the coffin appeared, no one seemed to care about what was inside. Everyone's attention was on the ghost falcon. They ignored this ancient object. The coffin was about 2 meters wide. Aside from the Desert Eagle carving, there was nothing else that stood out. It didn't even emit any aura. Immediately after, the yellow-clothed man shot out a tyrannical yellow spirit power from his hand, instantly wrapping around the coffin. Then the coffin suddenly shook violently. The shaking was so violent that it was as if a heavy stone had suddenly smashed into everyone's chest, causing their minds to ripple. The demons and Stargate people who were in the middle of a fierce battle couldn't help but stop. They looked at the coffin in the air in shock. They didn't know what was going on. Don't. Chapter 407. The trembling of the coffin attracted everyone's attention. They didn't understand what was going on. However, the ghost falcon suddenly screeched and then turned into a shadow and rushed towards the coffin, as if it wanted to protect the coffin. However, the man in yellow just waved his hand and the ghost falcon was sent flying again. The statue of the Desert Eagle on the back of the ghost falcon was furious. He roared, "Don't do this to it." Impatient, the man in yellow turned his head and looked at the statue of the Desert Eagle. He didn't do anything, but the statue was directly torn apart and turned into gravel. What terrifying strength! Although the statue of the Desert Eagle Demon King had come to life due to some strange demonic technique, it still had the strength of an out-of-body stage cultivator. Who would have thought that it would be smashed to pieces by a single glance from the yellow-robed man? Everyone looked at each other. Whether it was the Monster Clan or the Elders of the Stargate, they were all shocked. It was not difficult for them to break an out-of-body stage statue, but it was the first time that they had seen a method like the man in yellow that could silently break a statue without any fluctuation of spiritual chi. The yellow spiritual chi wrapped around the coffin, and the coffin trembled violently again. It was as if a heavy hammer had hit everyone's heart. The coffin trembled slowly, and then a crack appeared from the center. A heavy aura came out of the crack. Everyone felt as if their consciousness was about to leave their bodies, as if something was tearing their bodies apart. Everyone hurriedly held their breaths and calmed their minds, forcibly suppressing the strange feeling in their bodies. At the same time, they looked at the coffin in surprise. They didn't understand why this seemingly ordinary coffin had such a huge contrast. The 4 sides of the coffin suddenly opened like flowers, revealing a thick and solid stone coffin. The surface of this stone coffin was very rough, and there was nothing eye-catching about it. However, in everyone's eyes, it was like a high mountain. The surrounding aura was getting heavier and heavier, and a strong suction force came from ground. Everyone felt as if they were carrying a mountain on their backs, and even flying was a little difficult. In the entire cave, whether it was the 4 elders of the form synthesis stage or the other people of the spirit severing stage, they all felt a sense of strain and couldn't move their bodies. However, Muyu was the only one who remained unscathed. The heavy aura seemed to have no effect on him at all. Other than him, there was also the mysterious man in yellow. What exactly is inside this sarcophagus? Muyu could also feel the heavy pressure, but when the pressure flowed around him, it seemed to flow away from him like a branch. It didn't make him feel as if he was burdened. "Let's go closer and take a look," Little Shuai suggested. Muyu leaped high into the air and landed on the stone platform closest to the sarcophagus, carefully examining the entire sarcophagus. However, the sarcophagus was still as inconspicuous as ever. There weren't any extra patterns on it, nor were there any patterns or decorations. It was just a piece of rough stone. The yellow-robed man floated up and stood on top of the sarcophagus. He turned to Muyu and said indifferently, "Leave this place." The purpose of the yellow-robed man was different from the others. The Devil Race and Stargate people came here for the Ghost Falcon, but he came here purely for this strange sarcophagus. Muyu frowned. He glanced at the Devil Race and Stargate, people who were being suppressed by the heavy aura. At this moment, Tian Bushi also had a strained expression. However, the heavenly star shield appeared around him, protecting all of his people. The heavy aura didn't make them lose their ability to move. He knew that even if he rushed over, he wouldn't be able to kill Tian Bushi with his out-of-body stage strength. With so many form synthesis stage and spirit severing stage cultivators around him, Muyu wouldn't have any chance to make a move. He didn't hesitate anymore. He tapped his foot and flew towards the top of the cave. "Stop! Leave the desert eagle Ling Long behind." Long Xingyin gritted his teeth and wanted to fly up, but he only flew a few meters before falling down. The heavy pressure made it very difficult for them to fly. Muyu flew to the top of the cave. He was surprised to find himself in a strange city. This city was obviously the Sand Eagle Kingdom, and it was no different from a human city. There were streets, courtyards, and shops. However, at this moment, the entire city was dead silent, and the houses were dilapidated. Occasionally, one could see a few withered old trees drooping down weakly. Thousands of years had destroyed the entire city. The prosperity of the past was no longer there. The top of the underground cave was located in a square in the center of the Desert Eagle Royal City. This square was like a sacrificial altar. Ancient and difficult to understand devil race characters were carved on it. Beside the sacrificial altar was a statue of a ghost falcon in high spirits. It was about to spread its wings and soar. On the back of the ghost falcon was the handsome desert eagle demon king, Jur Falcon. Not far away, there was a dilapidated wall that resembled a palace. It was like a palace among mortals. One could imagine how majestic and magnificent it was in the past. Unfortunately, all that was left were broken bricks and tiles. It left behind an afterimage that made people sigh at the past. It was obvious that the Desert Eagle Demon King didn't live in the underground palace. He lived in this palace. The underground palace might be some kind of forbidden area for the devil race. The mysterious yellow-robed man stepped on the sarcophagus and flew out of the cave. Then he shot out an earthy yellow spiritual power from his hand and instantly covered the crack on the altar. Suddenly, a loud rumbling sound came from the ground. A stone slab slowly moved from under the altar and sealed the entrance of the underground cave again. He glanced at Muyu and said, "If you don't want the devil race and Stargate to cause trouble for you, leave the Desert Eagle Royal City quickly. They will come out of the Desert Eagle Demon King's palace soon." The entrance to the maze-like underground tunnel of the devil race was in the palace in the distance. Muyu looked at the man in yellow curiously. The man in yellow was standing on the stone coffin. He moved the entire stone coffin out as if he wanted to take it away. Muyu felt that this strange stone coffin must mean something to the devil race. However, Long Xingyun, Tian Buchi, and the others had misjudged it. It didn't make sense. "What's in this stone coffin?" Muyu asked. The man in yellow didn't answer him. He turned around and walked towards the city gate of the Desert Eagle Royal City. Muyu looked at the man in yellow's back. This man's cultivation was much higher than his. Muyu couldn't stop the man in yellow with his strength alone, so he didn't think of stopping him. Then, as if he thought of something, he shouted at the man in yellow, "Hey, why didn't you catch that ghost falcon? The devil race and Stargate want it so badly. It must be very valuable." With Muyu's cultivation, it was impossible for him to tame the ghost falcon. However, he didn't want the ghost falcon to fall into the hands of the devil race or Stargate. According to Long Xingyun, the ghost falcon was the key to finding where the Devil King Desert Eagle was sealed. The Devil King Desert Eagle could break free from the seal, but it couldn't fall into the hands of Stargate. In comparison, He wanted the Ghost Falcon to be captured by this mysterious man in yellow so that he could ruin Stargate's plan. The man in yellow didn't seem to be interested in the Ghost Falcon at all. He was here for the stone coffin. Maybe he was looking for something in the underground palace just now. The man in yellow's voice came from afar. Without the exquisite desert eagle, no one can catch the Ghost Falcon. Muyu was stunned. Exquisite desert eagle. Was he referring to the exquisite pagoda he got from the statue of the Devil King Desert Eagle? He hurriedly took out the Linglong treasure pagoda and carefully examined this pagoda that was only the size of an index finger. Very soon, his eyes widened because through the small window of the pagoda, he was shocked to find a miniature ghost falcon lying on the ground, its aura dispirited and listless. This was the miniature version of the giant ghost falcon. When did this big bird get into the pagoda? Xiao Shui popped his head out in surprise. Mui was also surprised. He put his foot close to his eyes and wanted to take a closer look at the ghost falcon. However, the ghost falcon let out a soft cry and pecked at Mu Yu's eyes provocatively. However, it was blocked by the small window. No wonder Long Xingyun and Tian Buki showed killing intent when they heard that the exquisite desert eagle was with him. It turned out that the exquisite desert eagle was the nest of the ghost falcon. Who would have thought that while the devil race and Stargate people were fighting each other, Muyu would be the third party to benefit? He would be able to get what they were fighting for. However, there was a new problem. He didn't know anything about the ghost falcon. He didn't know how to tame this fierce bird. He also didn't know how to use it to find the Devil King Desert Eagle seal. Are you not interested in the ghost falcon at all? Muyu raised his head to look at the yellow-clothed person. However, the yellow-clothed person had already disappeared. Muyu remembered what the yellow-clothed person said. Tian Buki and the others were most likely trying to find a way out of the underground. He couldn't stay here for long. It was best to leave as soon as possible. He quickly rushed out of the city gate. He rushed out of the gate and returned to the Een corpse array. At this moment, there were still many Een corpses on the ground. They didn't know what to do. It was clear that Muyu had moved the array core away. There was no one to command them. Muyu turned back into Feng Mu's appearance and took out the array core crystal. As long as he had this array core crystal, he could control these Een corpses at any time. It was a good thing that he had moved it out. With a thought, all the Een corpses began to move again. He ran to the large pit that Master Lu had created. Then he personally pushed the Een corpses away. Finally, he found Master Lu, who was lying at the bottom of the pit. Master Lu was afraid of the Een corpses, so he didn't dare move for a long time. He was afraid that the Een corpses would tear him to pieces. When Muyu pushed the Een corpses away, Master Lu was shocked. He stood up and anxiously asked, "Feng Mu, are you all right? I just saw you being submerged by the Een corpses. I thought you were already dead. You're an Een corpse, right?" Master Lu vigilantly looked at Muyu. He wanted to see if Muyu was missing a piece of flesh or a piece of skin. It was a pity that Muyu was completely unharmed. Only his face was covered in dirt. Muyu quickly made up a story. "Master Lu, I'm fine. Those Een corpses just dragged me down and wanted to kill me. But then I saw a mysterious yellow-clothed man. I don't know why he didn't kill me. Instead, he told me to stop the people from Stargate and the demonic beast from entering Sand Eagle King City. I followed his instructions and fiddled with some mechanisms. Then he let me leave." Master Lu suspiciously looked at Muyu. He didn't believe Muyu's words, but after he confirmed that Muyu wasn't injured, he let out a sigh of relief and brought him out of the pit. Muyu pointed at Sand Eagle King City's gates and said, "Right now the people from Stargate and the demonic beasts are about to come out. That mysterious yellow-clothed man told us to quickly leave this place. He wants to use the Een corpse array to deal with the people from Stargate and the demonic beasts." Sand Eagle King City had already opened a crack. The eagle carvings on the city gates had disappeared, so it was a bit more convincing. When Master Lu heard that the Een corpse array was about to be reactivated, his face turned pale. The Een corpse array that couldn't be killed had left a deep impression on him. He quickly said, "Then let's quickly leave this place. When you go back, you have to tell me everything that happened in this disaster. You can't leave out a single thing." Muyu quickly promised. He quietly controlled the Een corpses. These Een corpses began to stir, and their bodies began to release killing intent. Master Lu also noticed the change in the Yin corpses. He was afraid that they would attack him again, so he quickly brought Mu Yu back to the barrier. Chapter 4:08. There were people from Stargate waiting outside the Yin corpse array, but when Mu Yu went out, he found that all the people from Stargate had been killed. Master Lu was still shocked. It was a big deal that the people of Stargate had died innocently. Mu Yu was not surprised. Among these people, the highest cultivation was at the spirit-severing stage. Whether it was the Monster Clan or the Yellow-Clothed Man, they could have killed these people to save trouble. In order to avoid suspicion, Master Lu hurriedly took Mu Yu out of the desert forest. Along the way, Mu Yu tried his best to fabricate all kinds of strange reasons to hide what had happened in the underground palace. Many times, he just brushed it off. In the end, he even said that the mysterious man had made him lose his memory. Fortunately, Master Lu honestly believed that it was lucky to escape from death. In addition, the Yin corpse array had indeed left a huge shadow on him, so he didn't suspect anything. But halfway through, Master Lu suddenly patted his head and said seriously, "No, I forgot one thing." Mu Yu was glad that his excuse was effective when Master Lu came up with such a sentence. He thought that Master Lu was suspicious of something. "What did you forget?" Mu Yu didn't want to make up any more excuses. It was very tiring to fill in all kinds of loopholes when lying. Master Lu snorted heavily. "I should have waited for that bastard Zhou Jinglin to come out and let him see that you were still alive. In this way, we can prove that the disciples of the Foundation establishment stage of the Matrix sect are better than those of the Talisman sect. That bastard is so cruel and merciless that he even killed his own guardian. He is really unreasonable. If he sees that you are still alive, he will definitely shut up in front of me in the future. The disciples of our Matrix sect have been inferior to them all these years. It's not easy for us to hold our heads high in front of them. Oh my God, why do you still want to show off at this time?" Mu Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He quickly said, "Master Lu, let's go quickly. You've forgotten that there's still a mysterious genius senior brother in the Array sect. You should focus your attention on him." After saying this, Mu Yu embarrassedly remembered that he seemed to be that mysterious genius senior brother. Master Lu stroked his beard and nodded. "You're right. I have to hurry back to the Array sect and invite that shy child out. Right now, the Talisman Grandmaster is becoming more and more arrogant. He has even latched onto the coattails of Stargate. On the other hand, our Array faction is getting worse and worse. At this time, he is still hiding his strength. How infuriating. Do you think I would harm him? Sigh. But even if I'm angry, if he can really stand up, I'll definitely train him at all costs." The more Master Lu spoke, the more depressed he became. In order to find this mysterious genius disciple, he could be said to have taken great pains. What the Array faction lacked the most right now was Xiantian disciples. It was not easy for a Zhongtian disciple to appear who was able to break the Array tablet and had the potential to become a Xiantian disciple. But this mysterious genius did not cherish this opportunity, causing Master Lu to almost pull out his beard. If he knew that Feng Mu was the mysterious genius he was looking for, perhaps he wouldn't be so distressed. Mu Yu rubbed his nose. Looking at Master Lu's sighing appearance, he felt a little apologetic. To be honest, Master Lu was a very responsible elder. When he did things, he would always talk about the development of the Array faction. He was also very good to Zhongtan disciples. Unlike Zhou Jinglin of the Talisman Grandmaster, who had his Array Guardian self-destruct in order to escape. However, even Master Lu could not stop the decline of the Array faction, because the Array faction's sectmaster was not him. The Array faction had a total of 19 masters, including Master Lu. The sectmaster's name was Zhuge Shaosheng. Mu Yu had never seen him before. A Xiantian Array master usually had a lot of work to do. Many sects or cities would send a Xiantian Array master when they needed a large array formation, so they were often not seen. Usually, Zhongtian disciples would see Master Lu the most, so they all respected him very much. In addition to Master Lu, Mu Yu had also seen another Xiantian Array master. His name was Situ Yangtian, and he always had a sour expression on his face, as if someone owed him 250 spirit stones. He was also responsible for teaching the culmination disciples. Compared to Master Lu, who had a strong sense of responsibility, everyone did not like Situ Yangtian's classes. Muyu also had a bad impression of the Talisman Grandmaster after seeing Zhou Jinglin ruthlessly kill the Array Guardian. Since he had come to the Array faction to learn Array techniques, and the Talisman Grandmaster was suppressing the Array faction, then it would be understandable if he could help the Array faction defeat the Talisman Grandmaster. Half a year later, the Array Talisman competition would be held. Muyu had indeed considered helping the Array faction win. After Muyu returned to the Array faction, everything went on as usual. He was too lazy to care about whether the Stargate and the monster race had successfully walked out of the Corp's Array. After the Array Core Crystal left the Corp's Array, it could no longer control the Corpses. However, it was equivalent to losing control of the Corpses. Muyu did not know what would happen, but it would definitely not be good. This time, the Desert Eagle Demon King's journey to break out of the Array was over. Muyu's only gain was a ghost falcon that the monster race and the Stargate people were fighting over. What made Muyu helpless was that the ghost falcon did not listen to his commands at all. Every time it saw him, it would aggressively peck at him. Muyu did not know how to use the exquisite Desert Eagle to control the ghost falcon. However, the ghost falcon seemed to be unable to come out after entering the exquisite Desert Eagle. Why do you think this little bird has to run into the little red pagoda? Isn't it better for it to stay in the underground palace? Little Shuai repeatedly tried to communicate with the ghost falcon, but it did not appreciate his efforts. It's stupid. Dragon Vine swung its tail. Muyu felt that the ghost falcon might have just been resurrected and needed to recover in the exquisite Desert Eagle. On the other hand, the exquisite Desert Eagle was more like a cage. Without the key to open the cage, there was no way out. Unless Muyu found the key to open the cage, he would not be able to control the ghost falcon. Although he could not control the ghost falcon, he was able to destroy the Stargate's plan. This was a very satisfying thing. After returning to the Array faction, Muyu continued to immerse himself in studying Array formations. He needed to study the Xian formations that Deadwood Daddy had left behind. However, this Xian formations was still too profound for him. There were many things that he could not understand. Therefore, he had been studying more profound Array techniques in the Array Pavilion for a while. The Array Pavilion was the foundation of the Array faction. There were many profound and complicated Array techniques that were specifically for the disciples of the Array faction to study. Many sects with rich backgrounds had their own scripture pavilions. Inside, there were all sorts of books on cultivation techniques and pills. These were all recorded by the seniors of the sect for the juniors. The Array Pavilion was similar to the scripture pavilions of other sections. The only difference was that there were no books in the Array Pavilion. Instead, there were already prearranged Array techniques. This was a very ingenious teaching method of the Array faction. It used powerful spatial arrays and illusory arrays to display the effects and characteristics of each array technique, as well as the method of setting them up in reality. When one wanted to study array techniques, they did not need to hold a thick book and ponder over it. They did not need to ponder over the key points of array techniques. Inside the Array Pavilion, any array formation you want will be displayed to you, allowing you to immerse yourself in learning all kinds of array formations. The array techniques in the Array Pavilion were divided into Hotian array techniques, Zhongtian array techniques, Xiantian array techniques, and advanced forbidden techniques. As a Zhongtian disciple, Muyu could at most learn the Zhongtian array techniques. Xiantian array techniques and advanced forbidden techniques were not allowed to enter. Advanced forbidden techniques were said to be extremely evil and vicious array techniques. They were similar to corpse arrays, killing arrays, and self-detonation arrays. They would bring about terrible consequences. Therefore, other than Xiantian array masters, no one else could come into contact with advanced forbidden techniques. Muyu walked into the Array Pavilion. The Zhongtian array techniques were on the second floor of the Array Pavilion. What appeared before his eyes was an innumerable number of jade pendants floating in the air. Each jade pendant contained an array technique, and there were at least tens of thousands of jade pendants here. This meant that there were tens of thousands of different array techniques. It was truly shocking. At this time, there were a dozen or so Zhongtian disciples sitting on the ground in the array pavilion. When learning array techniques, one only needed to draw a rune with their hands and then touch it to the jade pendant. Then, their consciousness would enter the array technique sealed within the jade pendant. Every array technique was created by a specialist. There were also images left behind by the instructors. They were dedicated to explaining the key points of the array technique. It was like a one-on-one class. This method of learning array techniques saved a lot of teaching time. After all, every Xiantian array master was very busy. It was impossible for them to teach in person every day. Moreover, Xiantian array masters also needed to cultivate by themselves. Using the array technique to leave behind images of the instructors could make up for the lack of teaching time. Everyone could come to the array pavilion to learn at any time. This image formation was the same as the one left behind by Deadwood Daddy. Muyu had already come to the array pavilion many times. The first few times he came, he was learning all kinds of Zhongtian array techniques. He found that learning the Zhongtian array techniques was not as difficult as he thought. In fact, it was very simple. He could learn many of the Zhongtian array techniques in one go. He often used a jade pendant. Other Zhongtian disciples would need a few days to completely master the array techniques, but he usually only needed 2 to 4 hours to learn. Muyu's purpose in coming to the array pavilion this time was to learn an invisibility array technique. The main reason he wanted to learn this array technique was because he had found the method to arrange the soul fixation array recorded by Deadwood's father in the profound array. This array technique was created by Deadwood Daddy himself. It involved a lot of knowledge about array techniques. Among them, there were some rune carvings that Deadwood Daddy said were similar to the invisibility array technique. Deadwood Daddy originally researched the soul anchoring array for Miao Yuyan, but he didn't expect that it would inadvertently save his own soul. Muyu's current priority was to learn how to set up the soul anchoring array. Only then could he ensure that Deadwood Daddy's damaged soul would not be harmed. The Shin array technique was very profound. When Deadwood Daddy recorded the basic array techniques, he simply skimmed over them because he thought they were child's play and not worth mentioning. But there were many child's play that Muyu didn't understand. So he could only come here and start from child's play. The rune wrapped around Muyu's hand. Muyu's consciousness had already entered the jade pendant. Then Master Lu's amiable figure appeared in front of Muyu. He began to talk endlessly about the sad history of the array sect. He talked for about half an hour. It had to be said that Master Lu had put in a lot of effort to find Muyu, the mysterious genius. He had actually implanted more than 10,000 jade pendants with his impassioned speech. Our array sect has always been stronger than the talisman sect. But now, the talisman sect has climbed above us and wantonly humiliated our disciples. A warrior can be killed, but not humiliated. Our array sect disciples need to stand up and protect the dignity of the array sect. So I hope that low-key child can stand up boldly and let the talisman sect know that our array sect is not inferior to them at all. Master Lu waved his fist with a resolute face and then gradually disappeared. Then the image of Master Blue Heart gradually appeared and began to talk about the invisibility array technique. Muyu shook his head helplessly. This invisibility array technique had originally been created by Master Blue Heart. In order to make Muyu stand up and admit his identity as a genius, Master Lu had forcefully modified the opening speech of all the array pavilion's heaven array techniques. He planned to use the method of using reason and using emotion to move the mysterious genius. In order to learn the soul fixation array, Muyu had self-taught himself no less than 20 basic heaven array techniques. This meant that he had heard this opening speech no less than 20 times. The first time he heard it, he was dumbfounded. The second time he heard it, he was a little moved. He knew that Master Lu had spent a lot of effort to modify all the jade pendants. He had put in a lot of effort. The fifth time he heard it, he was a little annoyed. By the 20th time he heard it, he was beyond annoyed. He even had the urge to strangle Master Lu to death. Perhaps Master Lu was planning to annoy this mysterious genius to death and make him obediently stand up. Otherwise, he would have to listen to his speech every time he learned array techniques. It would be so annoying. Heavens! Master Lu really won't give up until he achieves his goal. Muyu was annoyed by Master Lu's image. He grumbled a few words, but there was nothing he could do. The invisibility array technique was a kind of illusion array. Inside the array, one could use array patterns to make something invisible, including one's own body. The specific degree of invisibility depended on the person. Some people didn't grasp the key points when using this array technique, resulting in not being completely invisible. Generally, beginners would be able to blur themselves. When Muyu used this array technique for the first time, he found that only his left hand wasn't hidden in the mirror. It looked like a broken hand floating in the air. It was quite scary. In this month, Muyu had learned countless heaven array techniques. However, even though he had learned so many heaven array techniques, he still couldn't grasp the soul fixation array in the profound array. The profound array only recorded a few basic array techniques. Most of them were profound array techniques. The more array techniques Muyu learned, the more he understood how profound this profound array was. He found more than 100 array patterns in Deadwood Daddy's annotation of the soul fixation array. He was blind to these array techniques. Then he realized that these array techniques belonged to the Xiantian array techniques. The Xiantian array techniques were on the 3rd floor. Muyu couldn't enter the 3rd floor. So if he wanted to learn Xiantian array techniques, he had to become a Xiantian disciple. Chapter 409. The atmosphere in the array faction had become quite oppressive recently. Because the Talisman sect seemed to have climbed up to the Stargate, the suppression of the array faction had become more and more severe. As many businesses were snatched away by the Talisman sect, the Xiantian array masters of the array faction had already left the array faction and went to various big sects of the 3 continents to recover their losses. Not only the Xiantian array masters, even the Zhongtian array masters had to go to other smaller sects to verify their identities to avoid more losses. The Xiantian array masters and Zhongtian array masters had taken away many Zhongtian and Hotian disciples. For a time, the array faction seemed a little empty. However, bad news kept coming back. The Talisman sect had already begun to encroach on the array faction's customers. The array faction was caught unprepared. Muyu naturally couldn't reveal his identity so easily. After staying in the array faction for 2 months, he understood that the array faction's inspection of Xiantian disciples was very strict. Xiantian disciples and Xiantian array masters had access to the core secrets of the array faction. Therefore, every Xiantian disciple's identity had to be clean. They didn't care about Zhongtian disciples because they weren't considered core disciples. Therefore, Muyu had successfully sneaked in. However, if a Xiantian disciple couldn't come up with a real and reliable identity, then even if Muyu revealed his identity, he would still be treated as a traitor. Just in case, he had to forge an identity that could pass off as a genuine one. He naturally couldn't do it alone. Therefore, he planned to ask Kai Lai for help and see if he could disguise himself as Kai Lai's distant cousin. Kai Lai was a genius of the Pill Cauldron sect and could be considered a person with a clean identity. Because he was a new disciple, no one paid attention to him. Muyu smoothly left the array faction without anyone noticing. Creating a fake identity wasn't an easy thing to do because it had to be able to withstand investigation. Muyu secretly returned to the Pill Cauldron sect and found Kai Lai, who was secretly drinking in the forest. Then, the two left the Pill Cauldron sect and stopped at a desolate place. Kai Lai, you really don't have any more roast duck? Xiao Shui sniffled and stared suspiciously at Kai Lai. Along the way, he had been begging Kai Lai for food. Beer and roast duck had always been Kai Lai's favorite. All right, I'll give it all to you. With a wave of his hand, Kai Lai tossed the 2 precious roast ducks to little Shui. He then turned to Muyu and asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" Muyu smiled and said, "What can happen? Where have you been all this time? I thought that you had taken things too hard and went to the Heavenly Starry sect to kill Tianbu heir. Kai Lai patted Mu Yu's shoulder. The death of a dead tree was a huge blow to Mu Yu. He knew that. He was worried that Mu Yu would be blinded by hatred and do something that would lead to his death. Don't worry, I won't look for Tianbu until I have absolute confidence. Mu Yu's eyes flashed with endless killing intent, but he immediately concealed it. He had already seen Tianbu wait once, but he didn't have the chance to take revenge. He guessed that the Yin corpse formation couldn't kill Tianbu wait. In the past, Tianbu wait didn't kill Mu Yu because he wanted to let Mu Yu experience the pain of losing a loved one. He had been waiting for Mu Yu to personally come to him for revenge. He knew that Mu Yu would definitely come. As the young master of Stargate, Tianbu wait was known as a once-in-a-century genius. He grew up under countless halos. He didn't care about a true god disciple at all. A true god disciple would only be a stepping stone on his path. Mu Yu was only the 80th extreme immortal, while he was the 52nd extreme immortal. His goal was to be in the top 9, not someone ranked lower than him. Kai Lai let out a sigh of relief. He already knew why Mu Yu had come. He said, "You want me to help you forge an identity that can withstand scrutiny? That's not a problem. Our Pill Cauldron School is a big family. How hard can it be to forge a fake identity? Give me 3 days." The word hour from Kai Lai warmed Mu Yu's heart. Ever since Kumu's death, he no longer regarded himself as a member of the Pill Cauldron School. However, Kai Lai still regarded him as one of his own. "Thank you," Mu Yu said. "You're treating me like an outsider. There's no need to be so polite." Kai Lai shrugged. Then, he thought of something and said, "Tian Ran came to see you." Mu Yu's body froze. Ever since they parted at 8 Grass Village, Mu Yu hadn't seen Tian Ran again. After that, a series of events changed Mu Yu's life a lot. In particular, Xiao Shue's appearance touched his heart. On one hand, he had indescribable feelings for Xiao Shui. On the other hand, he felt that he owed Tian Ran. After a long silence, Mu Yu slowly asked, "Is she okay?" She saw Martial Uncle Kumu's body and cried very sadly. Maybe it was because of Martial Uncle Kumu and her mother, or maybe it was because of you. In short, she wasn't in a very good state when she left, so I had to send her all the way back. Kai Lai shook his head. Tian Ran was a very simple girl. When she heard about what Kumu did for her mother, she took the initiative to recognize Kumu as her godfather, hoping that she could compensate him. However, Kumu didn't have a perfect life after all. He didn't live for himself and died at the hands of villains. "Thank you." Mu Yu said these 2 words again. He found that some things were too weak to express with these 2 words. He always couldn't protect the people he wanted to protect. At first, it was his master, then it was Deadwood Daddy, and then it was Tian Ran. He was so weak that he always needed others to bear the consequences of his actions. Deadwood Daddy died for him, and Tian Ran was worried about him everywhere. However, he was like a mouse, hiding from place to place and forging a ridiculous identity. In short, you have to be careful. I won't ask where you've been these days, and I don't want to know why you forged your identity. But whether it's from Martial Uncle Kumu or Tian Ran, you have to live well. There's only hope when you're alive. If you need any help, just tell me. I'll definitely stand by your side. Kai Lai sighed. He knew that Mu Yu must be planning something, but if Mu Yu didn't want to talk about it, he also didn't want to ask. Friends were like this. They drank together and talked about everything. They respected each other's privacy and didn't hesitate to help each other. There were many things that only needed to be understood in one's heart. There was no need to ask too much. Mu Yu nodded. Kai Lai was the first friend he made after leaving the Moyun mountain range. He was very glad that when Lil Shuai was stealing food that day, he picked up the pill scripture that Kai Lai threw away. If he didn't have that pill scripture, he might be a loss now. He couldn't go find Cheng Yin and the others because Cheng Yin, as the eldest senior brother, would protect Mu Yu closely. However, Mu Yu didn't want to be protected. He needed to bear the responsibility himself. He wanted to unlock the 9th heaven sealing demon array. This was something that Cheng Yin absolutely couldn't allow. Kai Lai left this place. He wanted to forge an identity for Mu Yu that could withstand scrutiny. At this time, 3 days later, Kai Lai would return once again. Muyu went to Pill City, which was the closest to the Pill Cauldron sect. He needed to find a place to stay for the next 3 days. Pill City was a subsidiary territory of the Pill Cauldron sect. It was the place with the most alchemists. It was also the holy land for medicinal pills. Many people would come here to buy medicinal pills from the Pill Cauldron sect. Muyu came here for the second time. He was very disappointed. The road to revenge was so long. His enemy was like a tall mountain. Whether it was the Stargate or the Threefold Palace, he couldn't contend against them. He grew day by day, but his enemy didn't stop. He didn't dare think about what the future would be like. He walked aimlessly on the streets of Pill City. When he looked up, he saw that everywhere is home inn. When he first came here, he had a conflict with Shi Minghui in this inn. At that time, Shi Minghui had knocked down the mortal Deadwood Daddy. Muyu had taught him a lesson. He sighed and turned into another street. However, he never thought that he would see two familiar figures here. Why would the Array factions Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai appear here? Muyu frowned. Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai were like fire and water in the Array faction. However, at this moment, they were whispering to each other. It looked like they were sneaking around. They didn't have the mocking expressions they had in the Array faction. Since when did they make up? Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai weren't in the field this time. Muyu knew this. Logically speaking, they shouldn't have appeared here, just like Muyu. They should have stayed in the Array faction obediently. However, at this moment, seeing the two of them talking and laughing, it was hard to imagine that they were still enemies in the Array faction. Muyu quickly changed his appearance and silently followed behind the two of them. Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai walked to a secluded street. Then, seeing that there was no one around, they knocked on the door of a courtyard. Soon, someone opened the door and welcomed them in. By now, Muyu had a lot of experience in following people. His Mu Ling turned into a root and brought him into the courtyard. Then, he snuck into a tightly shut room. He leaned against the wooden door and saw the whole room clearly. At this moment, there were 4 people in the room. To Muyu's shock, he recognized 3 of them. Besides Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai, the last person was surprisingly the vicious and merciless Zhou Jinglin from the Talisman sect. Zhou Jinglin had indeed escaped from the Sand Eagle Royal City alive. Your disciples greet Master. Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai kowtowed respectfully to Zhou Jinglin. Master? Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai were from the Talisman faction. You may rise. Zhou Jinglin waved his hand calmly and said, No one noticed you coming here, right? Master, your disciples have confirmed before coming. No one from the Array faction in the Pill City has come here for field work. Luo Filong said, Master, a person with the potential to become a Xiantian disciple has appeared in the Array faction. What should we do next? Ji Wenkai asked. Can't you find that person? Zhou Jinglin asked. Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai exchanged a look and shook their heads. That person is extremely low-key and is unwilling to expose himself. Old Man Lu has repeatedly gathered all our disciples to find that person, but that person seems to have some misgivings and is unwilling to stand out. Oh, since when did the Array faction have such a talented disciple? Aren't all the Array faction's disciples under your control? Zhou Jinglin asked. 2/3 of the Array faction's disciples are under our control, but there are still some arrogant people who are unwilling to follow us. However, we have already confirmed that there is no disciple among them who has the ability to break the Array tablet. We know the talent of every single Array faction's disciple like the back of our hand. As long as there is a possibility of them becoming a Xiantian disciple, we will suppress them, Ji Wenkai said. Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai were actually spies sent by the Talisman faction to the Array faction, specifically to suppress the Array faction's disciples. No wonder the Array faction's disciples had declined so much. With these 2 people suppressing them, it would be difficult for the Array faction's disciples to rise up. Chapter 410. No matter what, that person must be found as soon as possible. We must not let him become a Xiantian lord. Although a new Xiantian lord cannot cause too much trouble, we still have to be cautious. Zhou Jinglin took a sip of tea and said, "Yes." Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai both said in unison, "These past few years have been hard on the two of you, and you have not let me down. Although you did not become Xiantian lords, at least you managed to suppress all the Central Heaven disciples of the Array faction, making it impossible for them to compete with us. If not for the insider information provided by the two of you, it would not have been so easy for us to snatch the business of the Array faction." Zhou Jinglin's lips curled into a smile. His smile was uglier than crying, causing Mu Yu to feel very uncomfortable. "It is our honor to serve Master." Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai quickly said, "Wrong, you are serving the Seal faction. The sect master has already said that after we defeat the Array faction, he will definitely reward the two of you greatly. It is even possible for the two of you to manage the Array faction." Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai's faces showed a flattered expression, and they quickly knelt down to thank him. Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai had entered the Array faction as early as 10 years ago as Central Heaven disciples. They had originally wanted to become Xiantian lords and steal the core information of the Array faction. However, with their talent, they were not enough to become Xiantian lords and instead became Central Heaven disciples. Over the past 10 years, with Zhou Jinglin's secret help, their strength had grown stronger and stronger, and they had gradually established themselves as the overlords of the Array faction. They had then suppressed the other Central Heaven disciples and embezzled their cultivation resources, causing many of the Central Heaven disciples to complain incessantly. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, the two of them pretended to dislike each other and even secretly competed with each other, instigating their own subordinates to fight against each other. As soon as any Central Heaven disciple showed the slightest bit of talent, they would work together to suppress them, making sure that they would never be able to rise again. Most of the Central Heaven disciples' cultivation resources were taken by them, making it impossible for the Central Heaven disciples of the Array faction to become outstanding talents. Their suppression was just right, and because of their high innate talent, the Khanate Array masters of the Array faction could only turn a blind eye to their actions. During the Talisman Array competition every year, the Array faction was unable to send out any decent culmination or Xiantian disciples. They could only send out the two of them, and the two of them were spies from the Talisman sect to represent the Array faction in the competition. The result was obvious. In the past few years, the Talisman sect had even started to seize the Formation sect's business with their help. Otherwise, how could the Talisman sect know the exact distribution of the Formation sect's business? Mu Qinghong is the only Khanate disciple in the Array sect. He's ranked 70th on the Supreme Immortal roll and is far from being a match for our Talisman sect. However, I absolutely cannot let the Array sect have a second Xiantian disciple. This kind of person must be killed in the cradle. Zhou Jinglin's eyes flashed with an evil cold light. He took out 2 bottles of pills and placed them on the table. "This time, I came to Pill City to buy level 5 aperture seizing pills for the two of you at the expense of 300,000 spirit stones. The two of you should quickly raise your cultivation level. Once you reach the out-of-body stage, you'll be able to do more things for the Talisman sect." Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai excitedly took the level 5 aperture seizing pills. The aperture seizing pills could help nascent soul cultivators to have a greater chance of breaking through to the out-of-body stage. Such precious pills made their hearts and minds ripple. Although they usually embezzled the culmination disciples' spirit stones, each person only received 5 or 6 spirit stones per month. How could they gather 300,000 spirit stones to buy such precious pills? Also, Wenkai won last year's Talisman Array competition. This year, it's Feilong's turn. I'll tell the participating disciples of the Talisman sect when the time comes, Zhou Jinglin said. "Yes, we understand," Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai said in unison. Zhou Jinglin had done a perfect job of sending spies. In order to not attract the attention of the Talisman sect, he not only asked Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai to pretend to be sworn enemies, he also deliberately let the Talisman sect win a round in the Talisman Array competition every year. The winner was either Luo Failong or Ji Wenkai. They took turns to win once, which was equivalent to making a contribution to the Talisman sect. The Talisman sect would never suspect them. As for the other culmination disciple of the Talisman sect, with the information provided by Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, it was more than enough for the Talisman sect to defeat the Talisman sect. It could be said that the Talisman sect was secretly manipulating the Talisman Array competition every year. The Talisman sect would definitely lose 2 rounds in the culmination disciples competition. As for the Xiantian disciples, there was even less hope. Right now, the Talisman sect has a total of 57 spies, including the 2 of you. 16 of them have already become intermediate masters. The more spies there are, the higher the possibility of the information being leaked. So, we won't send any more spies over. You guys take good care of the other 55 spies and don't let them act rashly. Once we completely fall out with the Talisman sect, it will be time for you guys to make a contribution, Zhou Jinglin said. What? 57 spies? Mui was truly shocked. The Talisman sect only had 300-plus culmination disciples. Adding the 100-plus array masters, there were 500 of them in total. Of these 500 people, 1 in 10 was actually a spy from the Talisman sect? Such a huge conspiracy, such a hidden spy. If Muyu hadn't discovered it by chance, the Talisman sect would never have discovered it in their lifetime. No wonder Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai were unwilling to participate in the Intermediate Master's test. Instead, they wanted to continue being culmination disciples. They didn't want to give the Talisman sect any chance of survival. Gangrene attached to the bone was truly terrifying. Although the Talisman sect's failure to recruit Xiantian disciples in recent years had nothing to do with Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, the decline of the Talisman sect was inseparable from the 2 of them. It could be said that it was caused by the 2 of them. When Muyu arrived at the Talisman sect, he discovered that there were many unreasonable things about the Talisman sect. Anyone could become a culmination disciple, and they didn't even check their background. This led to the infiltration of Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai. Of course, this also included Muyu himself. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai bullied the culmination disciples and collected protection fees. Those Xiantian array masters didn't even care. They even allowed the Talisman sect to send 57 spies in. What exactly were the upper echelons of the Talisman sect doing? As for why the Talisman sect didn't send any Xiantian disciples to infiltrate the Talisman sect, Muyu could actually understand. Firstly, it was extremely difficult to become a Xiantian disciple of the Talisman sect unless they sent a Xiantian disciple of the Talisman sect. However, Xiantian disciples of the Talisman sect were also extremely rare. It was impossible for them to send them out as spies. As the saying goes, one can't trap a wolf without sacrificing a child. However, the Tao of the Talisman sect and the Talisman sect were ultimately different. The people of the Talisman sect knew that it was extremely difficult for a person to learn both the Tao of Talisman and the Tao of Formations at the same time. This was also the reason why the Talisman sect was separated back then. If they sent a Xiantian disciple of the Talisman sect as a spy, that person would have to focus on learning the Tao of Formations to not arouse suspicion. The Talisman sect and the Array sect had always looked down on each other's Tao. Therefore, it was impossible for them to allow a Xiantian disciple of the Talisman sect to learn the Tao of the Array sect. As for Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, they were only culmination disciples. Both the Array sect and the Talisman sect didn't lack culmination disciples. Therefore, it was fine for them to learn the Tao of Formations. Master, when does the Talisman sect plan to destroy the Array sect in one blow? Luo Failong asked anxiously. The most difficult thing about being a spy was that they had to constantly be on tenterhooks, afraid that they would be discovered. All these years, they had been unable to eat or sleep in peace. Once the matter was exposed, the 2 of them would definitely die. If there are no accidents, We should take action during this year's talisman competition. At that time, it will be the time for you to make a name for yourselves." Zhou Jinglin laughed. "But the Array sect still has the mysterious and unfathomable heavenly Array Tao. Master, you must know that even if we win one round of the talisman competition every year and are allowed to enter the forbidden area of the Array sect, we still haven't seen the true face of the heavenly Array Tao. Does the talisman sect have a way to deal with the heavenly Array Tao?" Ji Wenkai asked worriedly. Zhou Jinglin gave a sly smile. "The heavenly Array Tao? Oomph. As far as I know, he can't even protect himself now. All right, go back first and wait quietly for the talisman competition in a few months. At that time, the 57 of you will be remembered by the talisman sect, especially the two of you." Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai left gratefully. Only Zhou Jinglin and another young man were left in the room. It seems that the two of them still don't know what's going on. Do they really think that we will accept them? The young man who had been silent all this while sneered. "We have invested so much in the past few years, but they still haven't become Xiantian disciples. What a waste to buy Liang's spirit stones. The spirit stones invested in them are definitely worth a lot. The profits that the two of them have earned for the talisman sect far exceed the spirit stones invested. Moreover, the Array sect's advancement test is as difficult as ours. We can't help them with this. They will naturally know whether our talisman sect will accept them in the future. We still need to rely on them now." Zhou Jinglin rubbed his chin. The Tao of the Array sect and the talisman sect were different. In order to gain the trust of the Array sect, Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai had abandoned the talisman Tao and switched to the Array Tao. However, the Array Tao was looked down upon in the talisman sect. By the time they had completed their mission and returned, it was already too late to switch to the talisman Tao. How could the talisman sect accept them? Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai were unaware that they had been abandoned by the talisman sect. They were still complacent and happy to be able to serve the talisman sect. Moreover, even if Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai no longer wanted to be spies, it was impossible for them to do so. They had fallen too deeply into the Array sect and were unable to escape unscathed. There was no way the talisman sect would allow them to return. If they chose to rely on the Array sect would definitely not forgive them for what they had done. They would definitely execute them on the spot. Muyu wanted to hear more about the talisman sect's plan. However, Zhou Jinglin and the young man left directly and disappeared outside the Pill City. However, there was one thing that Muyu could not forget. The Array sect's Array, heavenly Tao, could not even protect himself? What did this mean? What happened to the Array, heavenly Tao? He recalled what Deadwood Daddy had said. The Array, heavenly Tao, was also one of the masters who had set up the immortal confining prison. If the Threefold Palace wanted to control the immortal confining prison, he would have to kill the other two Array masters. Among so many people, Phantom Qingyu and Xiebulo were not easy to kill. Therefore, the Threefold Palace's Array Guardian would definitely target the Array Heavenly Tao. Chapter 411. 3 days later, Kai Lai helped him forge an identity as Kai Lai's distant cousin. According to what Kai Lai said, this identity was flawless, and there was no way it would be exposed. He told Muyu the details of this identity, including the 7 ants and 8 ants, in case Muyu couldn't say it out loud. Actually, it didn't matter if Muyu said it or not. The main point was that the people from Array sect would investigate. Muyu returned to Array sect, and then he started to think about how to deal with Talisman sect. Strictly speaking, the dispute between Talisman sect and Array sect had nothing to do with him, and he could just stand by and watch. However, he wanted to learn Array sect's Xiantian Array techniques, and he also wanted to investigate the situation of Array Heavenly Tao. He couldn't just stand by and watch Array sect get destroyed by Talisman sect, so he had to do something. The number of people that the Talisman sect had infiltrated into the Array sect was actually 57. It was obvious how much they had schemed to destroy the Array sect. It was really sad that Array sect didn't even notice that there were so many spies in Array sect. Now, Only Mu Yu knew that there were 57 spies in a race sect, but he couldn't do anything about it. Firstly, he didn't know who these 57 spies were, and secondly, he didn't have any evidence to prove that Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai were spies. However, Mu Yu thought of one thing. With so many spies, Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai definitely had a special way to contact these 57 spies. It could be a list or a token. As long as this was confirmed, it was possible to find these spies. As a new Zhongtan disciple, Mu Yu didn't have any right to speak. Of the 3 array tablets left behind by Master Lu, 2 of them were still intact, and it was time to get rid of them. He knew that as long as he revealed his talent as a Xiantian disciple, he would definitely provoke Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai. This was also a good opportunity for Mu Yu to gather evidence. That humble young man refused to stand up, which made Master Lu and all the people of the Array faction feel suffocated. Mu Yu was ready to find an opportunity to relieve their anxiety. Less than 5 days after returning home, Master Lu indeed started to gather all the Zhongtian disciples for a general meeting. In the past month or so, there had been more meetings than there had been in the past 6 months. Every time, it was the same old cliché speech from Master Lu, and everyone knew what his true purpose in gathering all the Zhongtian disciples was. However, Master Lu seemed to be very angry today. First, he bitterly complained about how much business the Talisman sect had stolen from the Array sect. Then, he cursed the ancestors of the Talisman sect. After that, he recalled that the ancestors of the Talisman sect and the Array sect seemed to be the same. They were both once members of the Array Talisman sect. Thus, he hurriedly changed his words and greeted the ancestors of every Talisman sect disciple. Master Lu was a respectable elder in the eyes of all the culmination disciples. He spoke reasonably and handled matters appropriately. However, he had now cursed in front of all the culmination disciples. It was clear to see just how far the Symbol sect had pushed their Array faction. Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai looked a little embarrassed. It was the first time they had heard the usually serious Master Lu curse like a Philistine scoundrel. Moreover, he had greeted them in front of their faces. It was quite oblique and scolding them. Their hearts felt weak, and their faces alternated between red and white, but they didn't dare to show it. They could only secretly curse back. If you ask me, every disciple of the Talisman sect is a person who was born to a mother but not raised by a father. It's really a waste of their chance to be human. Every disciple of our Array faction is much stronger than them. Look at the disciples of our Array faction. Every one of them has cultivation and self-restraint. They are also humble and low-key. They don't fish for fame and are only willing to peacefully pursue their own knowledge. Master Lu changed the topic and began to praise his own people. However, everyone knew that he was definitely not praising people casually. Next, he would definitely beat around the bush to find the Zhongtian disciple. As expected, let's take this good child who broke the Array tablet as an example. This should be something to brag about, but he is unwilling to be burdened by his reputation. Such excellent character is really rare. However, I still hope that this good child can stand up. Now that the Array faction has been suppressed to the point where we can't even raise our heads, if this continues, we will really be starving. I don't like to force people to do things. I don't want to force each of you to walk in front of the Array tablet. I only hope that you can be self-aware. Master Lu's voice was full of emotion, and he was almost on the verge of tears. But still, no one stood up. It was still the same result. Master Lu sighed and was about to wave his hand to dismiss everyone when suddenly a person rushed into the advancement hall. His footsteps were very hurried, attracting everyone's attention. I'm sorry, what did I miss? Mu Yu saw that everyone was staring at him and asked embarrassedly. Just now, he had gone to attend the foundation class as usual, but he had been delayed by Song Qingyu. Because Song Qingyu had been absent for the last month, he felt sorry for Mu Yu, so he had deliberately left Mu Yu behind to teach him a little more. Feng Mu, it's you. You didn't miss anything. I thought it was that humble and good child who had stood up. I had even prepared a look of pleasant surprise. Master Lu said self-deprecatingly. When he saw Mu Yu's foundation establishment cultivation, he did not hide his disappointment. Ha ha! All the Zhongtian disciples roared with laughter. Muyu was just a foundation establishment rookie. How could he be that low-key genius? This little brat was really here to be funny. All right, I hope that everyone will work harder when you go back. Of course, I also hope that good child will not test our patience. The situation today is really not optimistic. Master Lu waved his hand, preparing to dismiss everyone. Oh, you're looking for the person who broke the formation tablet. I know who he is. Muyu's voice was not loud, but it suddenly sounded so clear in the entire advancement hall, causing everyone to quiet down. Master Lu immediately asked in surprise, "Really? You know Feng Mu? You're not lying to me? Did you see that genius break the formation tablet? Or what did he tell you? Is he here now? Hurry up and tell me." Master Lu almost wanted to jump over and grab Muyu to interrogate him. Everyone's eyes also fell on Muyu, many of them looking very unfriendly, especially Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai. As long as Muyu said that person's name, the two of them would definitely think of a way to get rid of that person. That person was not here just now, but he's here now, Muyu said slowly. Shua. Everyone's eyes once again turned from Muyu to the entrance of the advancement hall. Everyone stretched their necks, ready to see who would come in from the entrance. This person had made them search for so long, and yet he was still acting like a big shot. It was really too much. At that time, they had waited for a long time, but no one had come in from the advancement hall. Not even a shadow could be seen from the advancement hall. Where is he? Master Lu couldn't help but scold Muyu, feeling like he had been played for a fool. Muyu looked at the others in confusion, finding that they had all ignored him and were looking for the next person to come in. He immediately rolled his eyes, understanding that these people had misunderstood him. Helplessly, he said, "Lighting engineer, you're shining the wrong light. Over here, a proper person is standing here. Why are you looking over there?" "You?" Master Lu looked at Muyu with a strange expression. Everyone also looked at Muyu, and then there was another burst of laughter. "Just based on a rookie like you, who overestimates himself? You really dare to say that? Since when did Xiantian disciples become so cheap? If I can even become a foundation establishment cultivator, then wouldn't I be able to become a Xiantian array master? Really? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Damn it, this newcomer doesn't know the rules. Next time I'll teach him a good lesson." The Zhongtian disciples began to mock Muyu, thinking that he was just a clown trying to please the crowd. Some people even wondered if this guy's brain had hit a door, daring to say such big words. What a retard. Does a Xiantian disciple have to be at the out-of-body stage as soon as they enter? Muyu walked towards Master Lu unhurriedly. All the disciples who entered did not have any cultivation. Many of them started from scratch. Even the Xiantian disciple Mu Qinghong, who had broken through 7 trigrams, was only at the Qi refining stage when he entered the Array faction. It was just that Mu Qinghong was only 10 years old, so he was a piece of unpolished jade that was worth cultivating. Muyu was already 19 years old, but his cultivation was still at the foundation establishment stage, so he could be considered a piece of rotten rock. Damn it, if this kid is really the one who broke the Array tablet, I'll give myself 10 slaps. Zhao Yanggong, who had gone out with Muyu in the field, vowed fiercely. Not only him, everyone thought that this guy Feng Mu was just trying to make a name for himself, and everyone cast a contemptuous look at this new disciple named Feng Mu. Master Lu saw Muyu walking towards him and said unhappily, "Feng Mu, don't make fun of this old man. Although I know you may be doing this to tell everyone a joke to relieve their boredom, it's better not a joke at this juncture. Now, the talisman sect is already..." But Muyu did not want to explain too much. The most convincing way was to directly use the Array tablet to prove it. He bypassed Master Lu and walked towards the Array tablet behind Master Lu under everyone's mocking gazes. Ever since the first tablet was broken, a restriction appeared around the Array tablet. Apart from that person, no one else could enter. What is he doing? Is he going to break the Array tablet? Is he stupid to the extreme? Doesn't he know that only those who have broken the first tablet can approach the Array tablet? What a reckless thing. I'll really beat him up later. However, Muyu seemed to have passed through a water curtain, and ripples appeared around him, but did not stop Muyu's body. Muyu walked straight to the second array tablet, smiled slightly, and placed his hand on the second array tablet. What? It's really him? Everyone was stunned. Zhao Yanggong's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Master Lu's mouth was wide open, and his beard was sticking up. He involuntarily grabbed his beard and unknowingly pulled out a large tuft, but he did not feel anything. He just looked at Muyu in disbelief, and his entire person seemed to have been struck by lightning, stunned on the spot. Was it really this Foundation establishment trash? Master Lu's shock was the greatest. How could he have thought that this genius disciple was the Feng Mu that he had once treated as the guardian of the array? He had gone through the Yin Corpse array with Feng Mu, and Feng Mu had even been dragged into the pit by the Yin Corpses. Although Feng Mu had always explained that there was a mysterious person helping him, and Master Lu was skeptical, it seemed that things were not that simple. But who cares? Finally, that cute and mysterious genius had arrived. Found it, I finally found it. Master Lu's eyes were filled with tears. He felt his heart being stimulated, and his shriveled chest was bulging. Chapter 412. Muyu felt like he had arrived at an endless sea. There were blue waves, blue skies, light winds, and seagulls. A fresh, salty smell inundated his nose. He looked down and saw that he was standing on a reef floating on the surface of the sea. There were beautiful corals growing beside it. Corals couldn't survive without water. Muyu knew that his consciousness had been brought into the array monument again. He walked to the edge of the coral reef and looked down. He was surprised to see huge chess pieces floating on the surface of the sea. These chess pieces were black and white in color. They stood on the surface of the water in an orderly manner, but they didn't drift with the waves or get wet. They only gently undulated with the waves. "You're here." A calm voice sounded from opposite Muyu. He looked up and saw a white coral reef opposite him. Sitting on it was an elegant middle-aged man. His expression was gentle, and his eyes were as unfathomable as the sea. "Who are you? What are you here for this time?" With his previous experience, Muyu was no longer surprised. However, he still hoped that the person who appeared this time was Tian Ran. He hadn't seen Tian Ran in a long time. "My name is Elphagu. You can call me Chess Soul. You need to play Go with me this time," the middle-aged man said indifferently. "Elphagu, why is this name so strange? Who named you? Why are you called a dog? What breed of dog demon are you?" Muyu found it refreshing. The middle-aged man said unhurriedly, "My name is Elphagu. It doesn't matter who named me. What's important is that if you want to pass the test, you need to finish this Go game with me." Chess Soul pointed at the intersecting black and white chess pieces on the surface of the sea. The chess game emitted a strange fluctuation that captivated one's soul. It left one intoxicated. However, Muyu only blinked his eyes before escaping the intoxicating spiritual energy. He revealed a bitter expression. "Why does everyone have to play Go when chess is mentioned? I don't know how to play Go. I'm pretty good at Chinese chess. Can I change it to Chinese chess? Also, beast fighting chess will do. Oh, right. If it doesn't work, I can change this black and white chess to Go Bang. I'm also very good at Go Bang." In the past, when he was in the village, Grandpa Village Chief had taught him many chess skills, but Go was not one of them. Grandpa Village Head said that Go was the most boring game in the world. You had to count the moves back and forth. Couldn't you be more straightforward? Like playing chess, you could just take down the general and win. How convenient. However, Muyu found out that the reason why the village head said that was because he didn't know how to play Go. Muyu listed the names of a large number of chess pieces. Even the calm Chess Soul was taken aback. "What's Gamoku and War Beast chess? You don't know Go Bang and War Beast chess? That's great. Come. I'll teach you. Muyu rubbed his fists and said. The Chess Soul shook its head and said, "I'm the Chess Soul. Go is my battlefield." The way of Go was broad and profound. Attacking cities and seizing territories in the world are all tied to the chessboard. One black and one white, a battle of wits and courage. There are thousands of changes. When placing a piece, it seeks the right mood. The layout is profound. It can attack or defend. It's the essence of an array formation. After learning the way of Go, you will know how to devise strategies and determine victory from thousands of miles away. Speak human. Muyu yawned, completely unsure of what the chess soul was talking about. This was clearly the first time the chess soul had encountered such a casual person like Muyu. However, he wasn't angry. Instead, he continued explaining to Muyu. To become a Kane disciple, not only do you have to know how to make array formations flexible, but you also have to use array formations on everything in the world. Go is one of the epitome. The array formation on the chessboard changes due to the opponent's interference. What you need to do is to unleash the array formation's greatest might under the opponent's influence, the chess soul said. I understand the logic, but the main point is that I don't know how to play Go. Muyu muttered. With a wave of the chess soul's hand, a black and white chess manual appeared in front of Muyu. The manual was somewhat old, but it was rather simple. There were only 2 words written on it: chess array. Kane disciples have a rather high requirement for their ability to comprehend new knowledge. If you don't understand, you can read it here and start learning from the beginning. The Way of Go is a compulsory course for every array formation master. Holy sh**t. Muyu looked at the thick chess array as thousands of curses raced through his mind. No one had ever told him that he had to learn Go while learning array formations. To be honest, Muyu had a headache the moment he saw the thick book. Back then, he nearly cried from memorizing the Poison Sutra. Back then, he even grumbled that Deadwood Daddy had nothing better to do than to write such a thick book. Wasn't it troublesome enough that he had to learn chess array just to crack an array formation? Even if he could learn it, how could a rookie like him defeat the chess soul by cramming at the last minute? This board is an endgame. You hold the black pieces, and the white pieces occupy more of your vision. You need to win with fewer numbers and turn defeat into victory. This is the goal of the second Array Monuments test, continued the chess soul. The first Array Monument tested a Zhongtian disciple's ability to adapt to a situation where the weak defeated the strong. The second Array Monument tested a Zhongtian disciple's analytical ability to win with fewer numbers. Save those depressing words for later. Give me some confidence and let me read the rules before considering what it means to win with fewer numbers. Muyu helplessly flipped open the chess manual and began his long journey of learning. Playing Go could cultivate one's mind, but Muyu was a spirited person who did as he pleased. He couldn't be like his master, Feng Haochen, who grew vegetables and cooked every day. Therefore, playing Go wasn't suitable for him. Ever since he stepped into the cultivation world, he had never been content with his lot. He caused trouble everywhere. Every time, Muyu would defend himself. I only wanted to be a bystander. Who knew that the soy sauce factory would explode? Muyu believed that being calm was a way of life, but doing what one wanted to do was a way of life. One couldn't always suppress one's personality, right? Even his master often taught him to do things as long as he believed them to be right. There was no need to care about the opinions of others. The flow of time in the Array Monument was different from outside the array. Although it was useless to cultivate here, it was a good place to learn. Muyu hugged the chess manual and fumbled with the rules. He was on the brink of tears. As he had a pure, wood elemental physique, he was a genius when it came to cultivation. However, it didn't mean that he was suitable for learning Go. Therefore, he was filled with question marks as he read. Along the way, the chess soul wasn't stingy with its guidance. It answered all his questions, allowing Muyu to quickly familiarize himself with the rules of Go. Strictly speaking, the rules of Go weren't difficult. The chess pieces were placed on the chessboard for the sake of venting their anger. They occupied the chessboard and forced their opponents to the point where they ran out of energy. In the end, whoever had more eyes would win. It would only take a quarter of an hour to figure out the basic strategy, but more profound layouts would require years of accumulation to achieve. It wasn't difficult to understand a rule, but it was most difficult to use the rules cleverly to defeat one's opponent. The game between the two sides was like two armies fighting. The battlefield was ever-changing. Only by grasping the opponent's flaws could one defeat them in one fell swoop. In a battle between experts, one wrong move would result in a loss. Therefore, one had to take every step carefully and not be eager for instant success. The difference between a chess formation and an ordinary array formation was that the formation of a chess formation wasn't fixed. Ordinary array formations were fixed once they were set up. However, when playing chess, one person took turns to play a piece. The formation on the chessboard could easily be disrupted. A chess player had to adjust their formation at any time to force their opponent into a dead end. This required an extremely strong ability to adapt to changes. Sciention disciples were more powerful than culmination disciples in that Sciention disciples knew how to react accurately to profound array formations and gain the greatest advantage under the interference of their opponents. However, Muyu is currently facing an endgame. The black pieces were at an absolute disadvantage. He had to be careful with every step he took. To be able to call himself Chess Soul, it was obvious how powerful this alpha hook was. Muyu's every step was calculated by him. Even if it was a fair game, he couldn't win, let alone an endgame where he was at a disadvantage. It was simply too difficult for him to turn defeat into victory. Muyu wasn't a natural chess player. He had just learned the rules, so it was impossible for him to defeat Chess Soul who had been immersed in the art of chess for thousands of years. However, he was a disciple with considerable talent in array formations. He understood that he couldn't look at this endgame with conventional eyes. If he wanted to win, he had to find a different way. If one looked at the black and white game on the chessboard from the perspective of array formations, it was much easier to understand. Every chess piece was an array foundation, which was also the foundation to maintain an array formation. And every eye was an array core. As long as he destroyed the other party's array cores and increased the number of array cores he had, he could make his array formation stronger than his opponent. Muyu looked at the chessboard on the horizon and didn't rashly make a move. Instead, he began to outline the black pieces array in his mind. He fantasized about how he could escape the black pieces array from the white pieces encirclement and seize a chance of survival. The black pieces were in a dilemma. It was impossible for him to come back from the jaws of death. He flipped through Chess Soul and constantly compared it to the various chess games. He evolved in his mind to deal with the endgame in front of him. Time passed quickly. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. During this period, Chess Soul didn't disturb Muyu's thoughts. Muyu kept calculating his own game, hoping to expand the black pieces array formation. However, as he gradually understood the Tao of Go, he realized that the black pieces array formations were too clumsy. If he wanted to charge out, he would always be beaten up by the white pieces. It was a checkmate. However, since it was a test, there had to be a way to pass it. However, where was this method? Muyu had already spent 3 days in the array monument, but less than 2 hours had passed outside. No one dared to breathe loudly. They were truly alarmed by Muyu. This Zhongtian disciple, who was called Trash when he first entered the sect, was actually a hidden genius? Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai's faces were livid as they nearly twisted their faces. When Muyu came, they had wanted to recruit him. However, when they saw that Muyu was old and had a low cultivation level, they didn't want to touch him. They even mocked him and dismissed him. They never expected the fellow they had neglected to become a threat to their status. If another Khanate disciple appeared in the array sect, it might cause many unforeseen events. Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai were spies sent by the Talisman sect. They absolutely couldn't allow any complications to occur. This person had to die. However, Master Lu looked at Muyu in excitement. This genius disciple who had been in hiding for so long had finally stepped forward after tormenting him to the point of thirst. How could he not be excited? Everyone outside had different thoughts. Some were excited by Muyu's appearance. Some were envious of Muyu. Some were jealous of Muyu, and some wanted to kill him. However, none of this affected Muyu for the time being. He quietly immersed himself in his thoughts, trying his best to find a chance of survival. Chapter 4:13. At that moment, the white pieces occupied more space than the black pieces. The formation formed by the white pieces was orderly and invincible. As for the black pieces' formation, it was like they were tearing down the east wall to repair the west wall. They were in imminent danger. Let's try here. Muyu planned on launching an attack. He had been inferring in his mind for so long, so he had to at least give it a try. Just as this thought appeared in his mind, the gigantic chess piece behind him had already soared into the air and headed for the spot he wanted. The black piece landed on the chessboard, causing countless splashes, but it didn't interfere with any of the chess pieces. Then, a white piece was forced to sink to the bottom of the sea and vanish. The chess soul chuckled and shook his head. You may take away the white piece on my side, but I'll destroy your subsequent formation. The white piece smashed into the chessboard from behind the chess soul, stirring up a huge wave. It once again destroyed Muyu's formation. The white pieces came with a ferocious momentum. Muyu wanted to break out from the side, but he was still caught off guard. Then let's go here. Muyu felt his mouth go dry. He was actually very unsure when he was playing chess. This was because he was facing Chess Soul, a Go expert, Alpha. As for him, he was just a rookie who had clung to Buddha's feet at the last minute. He had no chance of winning. As soon as he placed the black piece, he realized that something was amiss. This move exposed his openings even more clearly. Indeed, in just 2 rounds, a strong wind suddenly blew on the surface of the sea. Ferocious sharks emerged from the bottom of the sea and bit Muyu's 3 black pieces, dragging them to the bottom of the sea. If you continue, you will have nowhere else to go, the chess soul said indifferently. The chess soul was just too powerful, leaving Muyu breathless. This wasn't the first time he had used something he wasn't good at to compete with others. Back at the Pill Cauldron sect for the second firmament spot, he, who didn't know how to refine pills, had been forced to compete with a bunch of alchemy genius disciples from the Pill Cauldron sect. In the end, the shameless old man guarding the pavilion deliberately changed the rules for the incomplete pill, allowing him to win by a fluke. But here, he didn't have any luck to speak of. A win was a win, and a loss was a loss. A single wrong move would lead to a complete game. There was no special halo. Can I start over? Muyu asked. The chess soul waved its hand, and the entire chessboard returned to its original position. However, Muyu's whole body suddenly sank. He found that the coral reef he was on began to fall down by 2 feet. When you sink to the bottom of the sea, you won't have another chance. You can only come back next time. If you sink to the bottom of the sea, those sharks will bite you to death. You will personally experience the pain of death. Muyu shivered. Damn it. What kind of damn place is this? If I want to leave, I have to be bitten to death by sharks? He thought about it for a long time and finally made another move. He wanted to break out of the encirclement from the other side and kill a white piece. However, the chess soul attacked again and defeated Muyu. The 3rd time, the 4th time, Muyu found that if he failed 3 more times, he would sink to the bottom of the sea. The chess soul seemed to have long calculated his position. It defeated Muyu effortlessly every time. There must be a problem somewhere. If only Master or Deadwood Daddy had taught me how to play chess. Muyu felt increasingly frustrated. He always wanted to protect the black pieces and break out of the encirclement, but the more he did so, the more he failed. Playing chess was like setting up an array. Feng Haochen had never taught him about array formations, but Deadwood had taught him a lot. The problem was that the array formation was too difficult. Muyu couldn't figure out. The reason why a chessboard was called a chessboard was that there was definitely a chance of survival. Where was this chance of survival? Muyu thought about it carefully. His thoughts were brought back to the Withered Tree Valley. Back then, Deadwood had just captured him from floating a mortal isle and confined him in the valley. Old Master, your array formation has killed so many people. Can't you sleep at night? Back then, Muyu was still very young. He naively believed that Deadwood was as evil as he looked. Deadwood glared at Muyu. Muyu had infuriated him again. At that moment, he was hanging upside down in the air, swinging. Leave a way out for everything. I've already set up the array formation so simply, but they still can't pass. Why do they have to beg me to do something? Why do I have to take them in as disciples? What does their deaths have to do with me? If you don't have the ability, you shouldn't overestimate yourself. Deadwood said, leave a way out for everything. I didn't see you leave any hints. Muyu became much more obedient after being hung up a few times. He knew that it was useless to struggle, so he simply crossed his arms and looked upside down. If I hadn't left a stalk of antidote grass at the edge of the poisonous fog, would the others have been able to enter? If I hadn't left behind that living vine, do you think you would have been able to walk out of the mirror image array with that bit of cleverness of yours? Do you think I wish for others to die in my valley? What have I become? A graveyard? Those people who died were all because I wasn't here. If I was here, I would have thrown those guys who overestimated themselves out so that I wouldn't have to look at them. Deadwood said snappily. Muyu clicked his tongue. He really didn't know about this. When he passed through the poisonous fog, he didn't rely on the antidote grass to enter. He knew that he had wronged Deadwood, but he still asked, what about the heavenly demon tree? You didn't even give a hint to the heavenly demon tree. You didn't hurt the heavenly demon tree. Did it take the initiative to attack you? If you want to pass the angry heavenly demon tree, you must learn to retreat in order to advance. Only by not harming the heavenly demon tree can you pick the heavenly demon fruit. When everyone sees the heavenly demon tree, they can't wait to pick the heavenly demon fruit. They deserve to be eaten by the heavenly demon fruit. Deadwood snorted. Retreat in order to advance? Retreat in order to advance. A bolt of lightning flashed through Muyu's mind. The chess game in his eyes suddenly became clear. When he saw the heavenly demon tree in the valley, it was full of fruits. Everyone came here for the purpose of picking the heavenly demon fruit, so everyone would make a move directly. Therefore, they would be beaten by the heavenly demon fruit and flee in embarrassment. This was a kind of qualitative thinking. If you want to get something, you will definitely act according to conventional methods. Just like this chess game. When most people saw the chess game, they would think, the black pieces have been eaten by the white pieces and are on the verge of death. If you want to win, you can't lose any black pieces. Therefore, your first thought is to find ways to attack the white pieces. However, no matter where you attack, you will be chased and intercepted by the white pieces. You will lose miserably. This won't work at all. If you want to win, you must retreat in order to advance. You must know when to give up. You can only gain when you lose. Muyu overturned all the ways to crack the chess game in the past few days and began to re-examine the chess game. The black pieces formation was like a plate of loose sand. They were surrounded by the white pieces until they couldn't breathe. They had reached the point where it was difficult to move. The white pieces seemed to have a grand formation, but in fact, because the black pieces were scattered, the white pieces formation was also indirectly divided. The white pieces wanted to eliminate the black pieces in one go, but that meant that they would be exhausted. As long as he lured the white pieces to use their momentum in unimportant places, it would be a great opportunity for the black pieces to counterattack. Muyu's gaze was no longer fixated on the existing formation. He had always wanted to expand the formation, so he was determined not to let the white pieces have the possibility of eating the black pieces. However, no matter where he attacked, he would be broken by the white pieces. This was also what troubled him. There were already very few black pieces. How could he let the white pieces eat some more? However, if one wanted to succeed, one had to do the opposite. At this moment, the best solution was to abandon a portion of the unimportant black pieces and focus on the overall situation. He would guide the white pieces' offensive momentum to the side and play the role of sacrificing the rook to save the king. Very few people dared to sever their own arm when they were at a disadvantage. However, it was often impossible to kill the enemy in battle without paying a price. Muyu's gaze quickly locked onto a formation. It could be said that this was the only way to win this endgame. Have you decided on your move? The chess soul looked calmly at Muyu. Muyu's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly recalled that all the chess techniques he had learned came from the chess soul. The chess soul's chess techniques were superb, so how could he not have thought of this move? What if he didn't fall for it? That's not right. If I place the black piece here, the white piece will definitely choose to intercept it for its own benefit. If it doesn't move here, It's equivalent to giving me a chance. Then, it won't be able to restrict my formation. Mu Yu's eyes narrowed as he turned his head to look behind him. A huge black piece landed behind him. Just as this thought appeared in his mind, the black piece had already landed in the spot Mu Yu was thinking of. The black piece landed on the surface of the sea, stirring up huge waves. However, all the chess pieces remained motionless. "It's your turn," Mu Yu said nervously. He didn't have profound chess skills like the chess soul. With the chess soul's abilities, he was definitely able to deduce the subsequent developments. Mu Yu was staking everything on a single throw. The chess soul didn't place his piece. He looked at Mu Yu and said, "By doing this, it means that 3 black pieces will be taken away by me. With your current formation, I'm afraid you can't afford any more losses, right? Cut the crap. I want to take a gamble." Mu Yu clenched his fists. He was still a rookie. At most, he could deduce the subsequent steps. He had no confidence in the development of this endgame. "Why did you make this move?" The chess soul continued asking. "I'm retreating in order to advance. If I don't lose something, I won't have a chance." Mu Yu sighed as he realized that he couldn't defeat the chess soul anyway, so there was nothing to hide. "Then if I continue blocking this place, you will lose another 3 pieces, right?" The chess soul smiled, but he didn't place his piece. All he did was point in a direction, and a white beam of light appeared on the chessboard. Mu Yu already knew of this outcome. With a thought, a black beam of light appeared in another direction. "If you place it here, I'll eat another 3 of your pieces. If you take another step, you will lose nearly half of your black pieces. Can you really afford it?" The chess soul said with a smile. Mu Yu sighed. Indeed, even this wouldn't work. However, something was not right. He carefully deduced that if he lost half of them, his formation would become more compact. At this time, countless flaws would appear in the white chess pieces. And when that happened, his black pieces would be like fish in water, reclaiming the lost ground. That's right. That's right. That's it. Only by doing so can I win." Mu Yu shouted in delight. "Quick, quick. I think I can win." However, the chess soul didn't move at all. All he did was look at Mu Yu. "Quick," Mu Yu urged. "There's no need. When you chose to retreat in order to advance, the endgame had already been resolved by you. Many people aren't willing to suffer any losses after attempting this endgame. You are one of the few," the chess soul said with a smile. "Furthermore, you are the fastest person to crack the chess formation. What's even more commendable is that you are someone who has just learned how to play chess. To be able to do so is already quite outstanding." Hearty laughter resounded throughout the sea as countless sharks suddenly burrowed out from the bottom of the sea and devoured all the chess pieces. Then, Mu Yu's mind jolted as his consciousness returned to his body. Mu Yu suddenly opened his eyes and scanned everyone in the advancement hall. He realized that everyone was already looking at him. Mu Yu shrugged his shoulders and ignored them. He secretly recalled the way he had cracked the array and realized that the array monument didn't test how excellent one's array formation skills were, but whether one's way of thinking could break the norm and dare to attempt an unusual path. Khanate disciples weren't required to grasp many array formations, but they had to know how to adapt and make choices for an array formation. Mu Yu's hand left the array monument before he slowly walked out. Did he succeed? Zhao Yanggong asked in surprise. Of course he failed. The array monument hasn't even shattered. Do you really think it's that easy to be a Khanate disciple? Luo Feilong snorted coldly. Chapter 414. He succeeded? Luo Feilong's face froze. All the Zhongtian disciples also let out cries of surprise. They had always thought that even if Mu Yu had broken the first array tablet, it would not be so easy for him to break the second one. After all, Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai had both failed, so it was clear how difficult it was to break the second array tablet. But they never thought that Mu Yu would only try once and break the second array tablet. Was this person really so powerful? Mu Yu walked in front of Master Lu and bowed. Disciple Feng Mu greets Master Lu. Feng Mu, heavens! How could it be? This is too unreasonable. Master Lu still couldn't close his astonished jaw, and his speech was somewhat incoherent. How could Master Lu have thought that this mysterious genius disciple turned out to be Feng Mu, who had always been by his side? He had always let Feng Mu be the guardian of the array in front of others. Last time, in order to gain face in front of the symbol sect, he had brought him into the dangerous Een Corpse array. The dangers of the Een Corpse array were still fresh in Master Lu's memory. Even with his spirit-severing stage cultivation, he had died in it. Not to mention he had brought Feng Mu in. Thinking that Feng Mu had almost become a member of the Een Corpse army, Master Lu felt a burst of fear in his heart. Feng Mu, heavens! I actually brought you into the Een Corpse array and almost caused you to lose your life. I almost became a sinner of the array sect. Master Lu's face was full of regret, but soon his eyebrows raised in joy. But this is great. You're fine. Huh. I said that the heavens did not want my array sect to die. No. I have to report this news to the sect master. Right. I have prepared a genius training plan. It's more important to deal with this first. Xiantian disciple, The sudden appearance of the mysterious genius really made Master Lu happy. When he spoke, he did not have any order, saying whatever came to his mind. It could be seen how big of a surprise Feng Mu had brought to Master Lu. Mu Yu had broken the second array tablet in front of so many people, confirming his title as a genius disciple. Naturally, it would cause a sensation in the array sect. Mu Yu touched his forehead. Master Lu was really a straightforward person. The appearance of a Xiantian disciple could make him so happy. It seemed that the situation of the array faction was really not optimistic. After a long time, Master Lu slowly calmed down the excitement in his heart. He looked at Mu Yu with satisfaction. For a disciple who had just entered the sect, Mu Yu's age and cultivation level of foundation establishment were indeed considered low. But what did it matter? Since he showed such talent, Master Lu could spend his energy to cultivate him. Master Lu didn't even want to ask Mu Yu why he had been hiding it for so long, but Mu Yu felt that he still needed to explain. He said, "Please forgive me, Master. Disciple has just entered the sect. Because I have to follow Master Lu to learn the basic courses, Disciple is usually not present when Master is looking for Disciple. Just now, I was late because I wanted to teach my disciples more knowledge. Just because of this?" Master Lu was stunned for a moment. Although he didn't want to ask why Feng Mu didn't stand up for him, he still had some doubts in his heart. He didn't expect Feng Mu to give such a simple reason. Just because he had to go to class, he didn't come to participate in my impassioned mobilization meeting. Doesn't that mean that all my carefully prepared speeches have been in vain? Master Lu got angry when he thought of how much saliva he had wasted. Master Lu then said angrily, "Which bastard Master Lu taught you this lesson? You almost wasted a good seedling. What qualifications does he have to teach you?" This old man is really angry. Like I said, a Zhongtian disciple like you can't act like a big shot in front of me. There must be a reason. Tell me which Master Lu it is. I will give him a good scolding. In truth, Song Qingyu was quite patient with him, and Mu Yu didn't want to cause Song Qingyu to be scolded because of this. So he quickly said, "Master, please don't blame him. Master Lu is very patient in teaching this disciple. This disciple is very grateful to him. Please don't blame him." Master Lu's expression softened, and seeing Mu Yu being so polite, his good impression of him increased, saying, "Polite, talented, you really are a piece of unpolished jade. Good. Then Master Lu turned and waved to the other Zhongtian disciples, saying, "The rest of you, go back and cultivate. Even a new disciple is more promising than all of you. How can you not work harder?" Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai's expressions were very ugly, and the two of them exchanged a glance, understanding that they needed to find a place to discuss how to deal with Mu Yu. These two were spies sent by the Symbol faction, and they had deliberately pretended to be rivals in the Array faction, so they needed to find a secret place to meet to avoid arousing suspicion. Since this Zhongtian disciple had stood up recklessly, then the two of them would definitely ensure that he would not survive. All the Zhongtian disciples in the advancement hall had left, leaving only Mu Yu and Master Lu. Master Lu immediately began to talk about his training plan, which he had drawn up after Mu Yu had broken the first array tablet. Let me think. Since you have broken the second array tablet today, you definitely won't have the energy to break the third one. You have just entered the sect not long ago, and your knowledge of array formations is still limited. I need to let you come into contact with the core array Dao of the array faction. In a few months, it will be the array formation competition, and I need to train you to be a candidate for the competition. We don't have enough Xiantian disciples, so no matter if you become a Xiantian disciple or not, you'll have to represent the Xiantian disciples in the competition. Even if you make up the numbers, since you're new this year, it doesn't matter if you lose, but next year, we will definitely be able to defeat them. Master Lu's saliva flew everywhere as he talked about a lot of his plan to raise a genius. Mu Yu listened in a daze. In fact, it was no wonder that this old man was so agitated. The array faction had been suppressed by the Talisman Grandmaster for so many years, and now many of their businesses have been snatched away. Not to mention, in the past 10 years, other than Mu Qinghong, there had been no other Xiantian disciples. Every year, in the array formation competition, the array faction's Xiantian array masters would be openly and secretly humiliated by the Talisman Grandmaster. Now that a second talented quasi-Xiantian disciple had finally appeared, how could they let it go so easily? Master Lu explained to Mu Yu for 2 hours, and finally said reluctantly, "And for the time being, I will only talk about 1/10 of it. Do you have any other questions?" Heavens! The training plan just now could be written into a thick book, and Master Lu had only talked about 1/10 of it after 2 hours. Didn't that mean that if Master Lu were to talk about it all, it would take him nearly a day? Mu Yu scratched his head and said, It's too much. I can't remember it." "Good. Then I'll say it again." Master Lu began to blabber again. Holy shit, Mu Yu really wanted to slap himself. It was all because of his cheap mouth that he had to ask for trouble. Can't remember my ass. Even if he said it a few more times, he wouldn't be able to listen much. Mu Yu hurriedly wanted to stop Master Lu's speech, but he was ignored by Master Lu every time he tried to interrupt. Then, another 2 hours passed. "Do you have anything else to ask? If there's anything you don't understand, I can repeat it again." Master Lu looked at Mu Yu with a face full of affection. No need. This disciple understands everything." "Really?" Mu Yu said solemnly, nodding his head like a chick pecking at rice. He was afraid that Master Lu would really repeat it again. Speaking of which, in those jade pendants in the array pavilion, Master Lu's opening speech had annoyed Mu Yu to no end. At that time, Mu Yu had the impulse to strangle him to death. Master Lu had really put in a lot of effort to find Mu Yu. "Good. Then you go back and rest first. 3 days later, we will start according to the original plan. This is something I specially prepared for you. You can use it as you wish. If it's not enough, then we'll talk again." Master Lu handed a storage pouch to Mu Yu. What was he going to do in 3 days? Mu Yu was at a loss. Just now, he had been yawning for 2 hours and really didn't listen at all. When he took the storage pouch, he originally wanted to ask, but when he touched the storage pouch with his spirit power, he was immediately shocked by the things in the storage pouch. Heavens! So many precious innate array bases. The spirit stones in the storage pouch were definitely no less than 500,000. These spirit stones were not attractive to Mu Yu. If he was really short of money, he could casually sell a 6-tier medicinal pill and earn a few million. What really moved him were these innate array bases. For an array to work, it first needed the array base to provide spirit power. The more spirit power contained in the array base, the longer the array could last. When Mu Yu first tried the flexible swallow returning nest array technique, he deeply understood this point. A Xiantian array foundation was not enough to use the flexible swallow returning nest array technique a few times. If he wanted to learn Xiantian array techniques, using the Zhongtian array foundation was not enough. He had to use a Xiantian array foundation. The innate array foundation in the storage pouch that Master Lu gave to Mu Yu was like a bunch of worthless jelly beans. There were so many of them, including the extreme nether ice jade, the snow rock earth spirit milk, and even the heart of the 7th order demonic beast, mystic tiger. One had to know that a 7th rank mystic beast was equivalent to a Unity stage cultivator. This kind of mystic beast cultivation was already heaven-defying and extremely difficult to kill. He didn't expect to be able to get it in the hands of the erased sect. However, Muyu had seen so many high-level mystic beast demon spirits in the Sand Eagle King City's underground palace, so he was not surprised. In order to cultivate Muyu, Master Lu had really put in a lot of effort. Some of them were applied for from the sect, while some were from Master Lu's own collection. These things were all prepared when Muyu broke the first array tablet. Unfortunately, Muyu did not stand up and admit it early. Only now did Master Lu give them to Muyu. "Are you really giving all of these to me?" Muyu asked again to confirm. The resources that Zhongtian disciples could receive every month were not much, only a mere 100 spirit stones, 6 Hotian array bases, and 2 Zhongtian array bases. Among them, 5 spirit stones and 1 Hotian array base had to be given to either Luo Failong or Ji Wenkai as protection fees. Muyu suddenly receiving so many good things for no reason was something that Zhongtian disciples did not even dare to think about. He felt that if he did not help the erased sect, he would be letting down Master Lu. Of course, how can I be stingy? You must be tired from breaking the second array tablet today. Quickly go back and rest. I will immediately report this matter to the sect master. Haha, our array sect finally has another Xiantian disciple. There is hope for the revival of the array sect. When Master Lu left, he was laughing even as he walked. Muyu guessed that this old man would probably dance with joy when he reached a deserted place. However, Muyu knew that this matter was not so simple. He had exposed his identity and was happy for the array sect's Xiantian array masters. However, there were 57 spies who wished for him to die. I want to see what kind of tricks you guys can play. Muyu did not tell Master Lu about the matter of the Talisman sect's spies. He did not have any conclusive evidence and would not be able to convince Master Lu. Instead, he would be accused of framing his fellow sect members. As for Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai's matter, he must personally resolve it. Muyu had just returned to his residence when he found that Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai had already declared war on him. Cheng Zhua, who lived with him, had disappeared and was replaced by 2 tall young men. Chapter 415. Junior Brother Fengmu, you're back? Just now, Master Lu made a unified arrangement for all the Zhongtian disciples. Junior Brother Cheng Zhua has already been transferred to another dormitory. From now on, Junior Brother Wu Wenxing and I will be living with you. All right, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Duan Yang. Duan Yang looked like he was 30 years old. He had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear. His cultivation was at the nascent soul stage. When he spoke, he had a fake smile on his face. He did not hide his nascent soul stage cultivation at all. He poured all his pressure on Muyu, who was at the foundation establishment stage. He deliberately wanted to give Muyu a show of strength. Duan Yang obviously looked down on Muyu's cultivation. He thought that with his nascent soul stage cultivation, he would definitely scare Muyu to the ground. So it's like that. Muyu nodded without showing any expression. However, he sneered in his heart. A mere nascent soul stage guy dared to come looking for trouble. Showing off in front of Master Guan, he really didn't know the difference between life and death. However, Muyu's goal was not these 2 shrimp soldiers and crab generals. He wanted to deal with Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai. He wanted to find a way to find a list of all the spies and then catch them all in one fell swoop. So long, let's start with these 2 guys. Muyu's calm expression made Duan Yang a little surprised. He was a second heavenly layered nascent soul stage cultivator. If he could release his nascent soul stage pressure on a foundation establishment stage rookie, it would only take a moment for that rookie to pee in his pants. However, why did Muyu look as if nothing had happened? Wu Wenxing also felt that something was wrong. He was also a second heavenly layer nascent soul stage cultivator. Seeing that Muyu did not panic at all, he must have a treasure on him that Master Lu gave him. He was extremely jealous in his heart, but he did not dare to say it out loud. Thus, he smiled and said, Junior Brother Fengmu being able to become a Xiantian stage disciple in the future is really worthy of celebration. When we found out that we were assigned to the same dormitory as junior brother Feng Mu, we were really flattered. Junior brother Feng Mu's future is limitless. Please take care of us. Senior brother, you must be joking. With your cultivation, why would you need me to take care of you? Senior brother Luo Fai Long or senior brother Ji when Kai should take care of you, right? Muyu said with a fake smile. Duan Yang realized that Muyu wasn't going to be bullied, so he quickly retracted his spiritual energy fluctuations and said, Alas, junior brother, you don't know how hateful Luo Fai Long and Ji Wen Kai are. If you follow behind them, you will never be able to succeed. Wu Wenxing and I are both neutral Zhongtian disciples, and we don't want to associate ourselves with them, so we are constantly being suppressed by them. These two fellows were really shameless. They didn't even blush when they scolded their own people. Muyu pretended to be enlightened and said, So that's how it is. It was rare for the Array faction to have two such righteous senior brothers. When I first came here, I didn't like the two of them for a long time. I always felt that they were too overbearing. Now that Master Lu has decided to train me to become a Xiantian disciple, I think it's time to stand up and do something for the Zhongtian disciples. I plan to rely on my two senior brothers to fight against Luo Fai Long and Ji Wen Kai. What do you two senior brothers think? Since you want to play so much, then let's play to our heart's content. This silly boy is really dreaming. With your cultivation, you want to fight against senior brother Luo and senior brother Ji? You overestimate yourself. Duan Yang thought disdainfully in his heart, but his mouth revealed a look of fear and trepidation. Junior brother, thank you for thinking so highly of us. We have also been unhappy with Luo Fai Long and Ji Wen Kai for a long time. Now that there is finally someone who can stand up against them, we will definitely do our best. Muyu sat lazily on the chair, crossing his legs and saying, The two of you, go and put up a notice. I, Feng Mu, am now a quasi-Shintian disciple, and I plan to help all the Zhongtian disciples improve their understanding of Array Dao and bring our Array faction to greater heights. For those who choose to study under me, I will protect them from being persecuted by evil people and will only take 1 spirit stone a month as a tuition fee. I will use this sum of spirit stones as teaching fees, and those who perform well will be rewarded with spirit stones. Who didn't know how to recruit people? With the starting capital and the title of a genius, how could he be afraid that no one would come running to join him? Luo Fai Long and Ji Wen Kai, these two spies, in order to suppress the disciples of the Array faction. Their methods of exploitation were extremely ruthless. Many people dared to be angry at them, but did not dare to speak up. At this time, if someone could stand up against them, they would definitely rally to their cause. The Zhongtian disciples of the Array faction were divided into 3 groups, and those who wanted to stand alone would be ostracized. Otherwise, they could only swallow their anger and choose either Luo Fai Long or Ji Wen Kai's side, and obediently pay a protection fee every month. At this time, Muyu stepped in, and the protection fee he charged was so low that it made people's hair stand on end. Without even thinking, it was obvious that many people would defect to Muyu's side. You people from the Seal faction are really disgusting. Since I am studying in the Array faction, I will not watch anything happen to the Array faction. Muyu sneered coldly in his heart. After so many years of plundering from his Zhongtian disciples of the Array faction, it's time to spit out. Whenever a Zhongtian disciple had a slightly outstanding talent, they would be taken care of by Luo Fai Long and Ji Wen Kai, making it so that they would not have a chance to shine. As time passed, the Zhongtian disciples of the Array faction would slowly decline. If these 2 vampire spies were not removed, the Array faction's decline would be inevitable. Muyu could not directly remove Luo Fai Long and Ji Wen Kai, because if they were gone, there would be other spies lying in wait. He had to get his hands on the list of spies and then uproot them all. Put up a notice? Duan Yang and Wu Wenxing were at a loss. The 2 of them had only been ordered to monitor Muyu's every move, but they had not expected that Muyu would actually dare to directly go against Luo Fai Long and Ji Wen Kai. Awada, hurry up and do it. All right, I'll write a notice first, and you two can copy it and put up 10 or 20 of them. Since the two of you have chosen to follow me, you should be able to do such a small thing, right? Muyu took out a brush and ink and began to write. Duan Yang and Wu Wenxing secretly exchanged a glance and hurriedly agreed. How to deal with this matter was something that Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai needed to consider, and had nothing to do with them. Since they were sent here as spies, even if they wanted to slap Muyu to death, they had to endure it. Very quickly, Muyu's words had spread to the ears of all the Zhongtian disciples of the Array faction. When everyone heard Muyu's plan, they could guess that this new junior brother Feng Mu wanted to go against Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai. But with Feng Mu's foundation establishment stage cultivation, could he really be a match for those two? The Zhongtian disciples had to pay a protection fee every month, and some of their formation stones would be deducted, causing them to not have enough materials to practice array formations, making it difficult for them to improve their array formations. Everyone hated Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, but no one dared to oppose them. Not only were their talents high, and were highly regarded by their master, they also had many lackeys and were not to be trifled with. At this time, someone had suddenly appeared who dared to challenge them, and even charge them a low fee, causing many people to become restless. But there was one thing that everyone was worried about. Feng Mu was just a new disciple, and was not like Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, who were used to riding roughshod over others. What qualifications did he have to go against these two? But this Feng Mu was someone who had broken 2 array tablets, and was already treated like a treasure by Master Lu. In the future, he would definitely become a Xiantian disciple, and his future would be far above Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai. If they could follow Feng Mu at this time, it would definitely be much better than following Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai. If Feng Mu's status as a quasi-Xiantian disciple was not enough to tempt them, then Feng Mu's conditions would definitely cause many Zhongtian disciples to become restless. In order to attract more people to his side, Muyu had purposely taken out a top grade innate array foundation, the Netherworld Extreme Ice Jade. He had said that he would give this innate array foundation to any Zhongtian disciple that he thought had outstanding talent. Only charging a single spirit stone a month and treating it as a reward and casually taking out a Xiantian Netherworld Ice Jade. Was this Feng Mu trying to defy the heavens? Outside the Array sect, there was a barren forest, and Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai would usually come here to discuss anything. This brat is really ruthless. Master Lu never gave me a Xiantian Netherworld Ice Jade. Luo Failong gritted his teeth and said. Zhongtian disciples were unable to fully utilize the advantages of a Xiantian Netherworld Ice Jade, but a single Xiantian Netherworld Ice Jade was enough to exchange for hundreds of Zhongtian Netherworld Ice Jade. Even Luo Failong only had 2 Xiantian Netherworld Ice Jade. This brat wants to go against us. Then don't blame us for not being polite. He has already started to recruit people. We could just send a few people to sneak in, and we'll definitely kill him. Ji Wenkai said as he rubbed his fists, his bones cracking. Then should we send people from our talisman faction or the Array sect? Luo Failong asked. Most of the Zhongtian disciples following them were actually the original disciples of the Array sect, and only a small number were spies. In order to control the situation of all the Zhongtian disciples, there were even some spies who pretended to be neutral and mixed in with a neutral group to gather information. Whenever a disciple was slightly more talented, they would be met with all kinds of bullying and suppression. Ji Wenkai pondered for a moment before saying, Feng Mu's bargaining chip is too big. He is basically giving alms, and we are exploiting him. Other than our talisman faction, only a few of the Zhongtian disciples of the Array sect actually listen to us, and under this kind of temptation, it is very easy for them to change sides. If we want to send someone, we must send a spy from the talisman faction to infiltrate Feng Mu's camp. There's no need for so much trouble. If there's really no other way, we could just kill him, Luo Failong said viciously. If we kill someone in the Array sect, Old Man Lu will definitely suspect us. At that time, Our identities as the Talisman faction will be exposed, and it will ruin Master's plan. No one can take responsibility for it. If we want to kill him, we must find an opportunity to do it when he is out in the field. Right now, Duan Yang and Wu Wenxing have already gained Feng Mu's trust, and they are both from our Talisman faction. We just need to monitor Feng Mu's every move, and the moment he leaves the Array sect, it will be the time of his death. Ji Wenkai's face was also filled with killing intent. Ji Wenkai was a meticulous person for so many years. In order to encroach on the Array sect, the Talisman faction had sent 2 highly talented people to be spies in the Array sect, and they had even successfully become the leaders of the Zhongtian disciples' camps. With such a deliberate plan to destroy the Array sect, they naturally wouldn't send 2 idiots. He is really too young to believe Duan Yang and Wu Wenxing so easily. He is really stupid. Let's see what a Foundation establishment quasi-innate disciple can do. Luo Feilong's face was filled with murderous intent. Muyi didn't know how Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai contacted the Talisman faction spies, but he was very clear about Wu Wenxing and Duan Yang's true identities, and he even knew the consequences of recruiting people like this. Needless to say, there would definitely be some Talisman faction spies around him, pretending to listen to his commands like lapdogs and trying their best to gain his trust. However, Muyu had his own plans, and he never acted according to the rules, so naturally, he wouldn't be tricked by others. He knew that they would send spies to his side, and he also knew that he wouldn't be able to identify which one was the Talisman faction spy. But so what? Since you guys want to play, I'll play with you guys. Muyu watched from afar as Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai returned to the Array sect. A faint smile appeared on his face. Chapter 416. On the 3rd day after Muyu posted the notice, there were already many Zhongtian disciples who came to pledge their allegiance to him. Many of these Zhongtian disciples used to follow Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai, but because the 2 of them always oppressed the Zhongtian disciples, they were not very popular. When Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai were still overlords, no one dared to go against them, because they always had a way to torture those who dared to oppose them. Now that there was finally someone who stood up to oppose these 2 bastards, naturally there were many who responded. Although this new leader of the Zhongtian disciples was only at the Foundation establishment stage, he had a lot of potential and would definitely become a Xiantian disciple in the future. If they could hug such a big thigh at this time, it would be beneficial for them in the future. However, there were still some who chose to wait and see. In their hearts, they were more inclined to follow Feng Mu, but many of them knew of Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai's ruthless methods. In the past, there was a Zhongtian disciple who wanted to compete with the 2 of them, but in the end he disappeared without a trace, his life or death unknown. There was no need to guess that he had been killed by the 2 of them. These Zhongtian disciples knew that with Feng Mu's current cultivation, it was very likely that he would follow in that person's footsteps. Duan Yang, how many people now want to leave Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai's evil clutches and choose to follow me? Muyu lazily leaned back in his chair, asking Duan Yang in a lofty tone. These past few days, he had treated Duan Yang and Wu Wenxing like dogs, and did not feel the slightest bit of guilt in his heart. Originally, they were just pretending to pledge their allegiance. Since they wanted to act like dogs, then they might as well be dogs until the end. Duan Yang's heart was already filled with anger. He was a dignified, nascent soul stage cultivator, but these past few days he had been ordered around by a Foundation establishment stage cultivator. This was really a huge humiliation. If not for the fact that he had to keep an eye on Feng Mu's movements, he would have already slapped Feng Mu's head. Although he was very angry, he did not dare to show it, instead putting on a fawning expression and saying, "There are a total of 34 people who have clearly expressed their willingness to follow you. 11 of them used to follow Luo Feilong, 15 of them used to follow Ji Wenkai. The remaining 8 didn't take sides like us in the past." Muyi naturally didn't know how many of these 34 people were spies from the Talisman sect. However, he didn't care. Originally, he had formed this group to show off to Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai. He didn't expect these people to help him at all. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai would definitely send their trusted aides to infiltrate Mu Yu's side and pretend to listen to Mu Yu's orders. In fact, they would secretly keep an eye on Mu Yu and prevent him from moving. Think about it. If a person's followers were all spies planted by the opponent, how could this person make waves? However, at the same time, Mu Yu was certain that the people sent by Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai to monitor him were definitely from the Talisman sect. Because if they wanted to kill Mu Yu, they had to find some people they trusted to do it. This way, once Mu Yu left the Array faction to go out to the field, they could use their own people to find out Mu Yu's whereabouts and then kill Mu Yu. This would also prevent them from spreading rumors. After all, it was much safer to have their own people collude with each other than the Array faction's disciples. Their own people would not reveal their secrets, but it was hard to say for the Array faction's Zhongtian disciples. Mu Yu's move was actually a method of inviting wolves into the house. It was impossible for him to investigate each and every one of the Array faction's Zhongtian disciples and Array masters to find out which of them were spies from the Talisman sect. So, the best way was to simply lure those spies to his side and eliminate some of them first. Wu Wenxing, go and collect a list of all the Zhongtian disciples. If we want to contend with those two people, we must have a good understanding of everyone. Mu Yu said, yes. Wu Wenxing gritted his teeth in anger. These few days, the two of them had been running errands for Mu Yu like coolies. They had long wanted to kill this guy. He secretly swore that once Feng Mu walked out of the Array faction, he would make him beg for death. He would first settle the score of these few days before killing Feng Mu. Duan Yang, go and get a list of all the Zhongtian Array masters. Remember, the more detailed the better. It would be best to list out their performance and contributions in the Array faction. We also need to have a good relationship with the Zhongtian Array masters. After all, they were also Zhongtian disciples. Mu Yu ordered again. Yes, Duan Yang hurriedly promised. However, as soon as he turned his head, his expression changed into a murderous one, and he left. F***CK. These two people are really good people. They can endure being ordered around like this. As expected of spies sent by the Talisman faction. Mu Yu muttered in his heart. Thinking about how sullen these two had been these past few days, Mu Yu felt a burst of joy. Ordering the people of the Talisman faction around like dogs was very satisfying. Just as Mu Yu was about to carefully look through the list of Zhongtian disciples who had surrendered, the door was suddenly pushed open a crack, and a head poked in. Cheng Zhuo, it's you, Mu Yu said with a smile. Cheng Zhuo was actually a very honest person. Originally, he lived in the same room as Mu Yu. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai did not let him monitor Mu Yu, which meant that they did not trust Cheng. Cheng Zhuo should be from the Array faction. Cheng Zhuo walked in somewhat uneasily, forcing a smile at Mu Yu, and then said, I really did not expect that the person who broke the Array tablet would be you. To think that I overestimated myself and said that I would protect you. Mu Yu pointed at the chair and said, sit. What's there to be nervous about? We are roommates, aren't we? Cheng Zhuo looked outside the door and then said in a low voice, I didn't come here today to catch up with you. I know that you want to fight against Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, but I advise you to be careful. Although you have Master Lu's support, they are not people to be trifled with. Also, Duan Yang and Wu Wenxing were not neutral disciples in the past. They used to be Luo Failong's people, and they listened to Luo Failong's words. They are here to monitor you. Mu Yu blinked. You came here to tell me this? In any case, we are roommates. I don't want to see anything happen to you. Last time, there was a senior brother who wanted to fight against the two of them, but after a field trip, he never came back. It is said that there was an accident when setting up the array, and the array's spirit energy became chaotic, causing an explosion. But we all know that it was actually Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai who did it. We just don't dare to say it. I am very worried that you will end up like him. Cheng Zhuo said seriously. Mu Yu was a little touched. This Cheng Zhuo was a good person. Originally, Mu Yu thought that he had come to rely on him, but he didn't expect that he had just come to remind him. Well, I know how to deal with the two of them. Do you want to do it with me? Muyu had long known about Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai's petty tricks, but at that time, it was not certain who would kill who. Chengzhua hesitated for a moment and said, I know that your future is limitless, but I think that you should not be too high profile before you grow up. At least wait until your cultivation reaches the nascent soul stage. Listen to my advice, stay away from the two of them as much as possible, and improve your cultivation with Master Lu. Also, don't go out in the field. They don't dare to kill people in the sect, but they will definitely deal with you when you go out in the field. Muyu always felt that Chengzhua seemed to know something, so he planned to probe Chengzhua to see if he could get anything out of him. Why don't they dare to kill me in the Erase sect? Isn't it convenient for them to casually create an accident in the Erase sect and kill me? Why do they have to go through so much trouble to wait for me to go out in the field? Even if Master Lu suspects them, only the two of them can compete with the Talisman Grandmaster among the disciples of Zhongtian. Would Master Lu punish them? The two of them are not that simple. If Master Lu suspects them, it is very likely that their identities will be exposed. Chengzhua suddenly covered his mouth. He looked at Mu Yu in horror, knowing that he seemed to have said something wrong, and quickly turned to leave. But just as he turned around, Mu Yu's figure appeared in front of him, giving him a fright. Chengzhua was also at the nascent soul stage, but how could a foundation establishment stage phone Mu be so fast? What are their identities? What do you know? Mu Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. I didn't say anything. I can't say anything. Just pretend that you didn't hear anything. Chengzhua pushed Mu Yu away and wanted to leave. He thought that Mu Yu wouldn't be able to block him with his nascent soul stage cultivation, but Mu Yu didn't move at all, and even put a hand on Chengzhua's shoulder. Chengzhua was horrified to find that he couldn't move at all. What are their identities? You're with them, aren't you? Mu Yu asked sternly. I'm different from them. I'm not a spy. Chengzhua said anxiously. Then he realized that he had let it slip, and his expression was very flustered, looking like he was about to cry. Spy, you also know that they are spies of the Talisman Grandmaster? Mu Yu stared at Chengzhua. Chengzhua opened his mouth wide. You, how do you know that they are spies of the Talisman Grandmaster? After that, he glanced at the surroundings in panic, as if he was afraid of something. And then he said softly, There are some things that I can't say, otherwise I'll die a horrible death. Let me go. I can't tell you. The walls have ears. Don't worry, I've set up a soundproof formation here, so no one can eavesdrop on our conversation. Mu Yu let go of Chengzhua, and Chengzhua noticed that he could move again. He was just about to flee, but he stopped after taking a few steps. You're not at the foundation establishment stage. Your cultivation is even more formidable than mine. Are you a spy sent by the Talisman Grandmaster as well? Chengzhua's face was extremely pale. I'm here to deal with the spies of the Talisman Grandmaster. Since you know that they are spies, why didn't you expose them? Mu Yu said coldly. Chengzhua seemed to have thought of something, and he shuddered with terror. Are you really not a spy of the Talisman Grandmaster? I was sent by Master Lu to search for spies. Mu Yu made up a story. So Master Lu knows as well? I thought that those Khanate array masters were kept in the dark. Chengzhua's expression eased up, and his gaze towards Mu Yu was filled with reverence. Then he shook his head and said, How would I dare to say that? I don't have any evidence, so who would believe me based on my one-sided story? Tell me everything you know. Mu Yu didn't expect that he wasn't the only one who had discovered the spies of the Talisman Grandmaster, and even Chengzhua had unintentionally discovered them. If Chengzhua knew more than him, then this matter would go even more smoothly. 57 spies had infiltrated the Erase sect, and if one of them gave themselves away, it would definitely affect the others. The Talisman Grandmaster must have used some method to avoid this from happening. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai were the leaders of the spies, so they should be the only ones who knew who were the spies. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.